by Fremantle. They've lost to Gold Coast and Collingwood by a combined 72 points. They were under the pump. The WA media can be quite vicious, as the fans can be as well. They would have come here going, we need to perform because we've dropped our last two by big margins, and they've done exactly that.
Against teams that aren't really sort of, we're talking about finals contenders at the moment in the Gold Coast and Collingwood. And look, it's just something that you like to be within a football club where you actually have a chat to them, or you review and you look at things and players respond. And once they respond, you think, yes, we've got a good group here. And I think the response today by Fremantle, I think the coaching staff, the supporters will be very happy with their football team.
And a lot of fans as well. 0437774774. Marcus in South Melbourne, who's been a correspondent throughout. Jono, he says, the Mighty Dockers win the inaugural Jeff Farmer Cup. Perhaps we are a chance after all. And Greg from Bendigo, I actually don't mind this one. Hi, guys. Great win by Freo. Can we D supporters argue that Melbourne remains undefeated, seeing as Nam lost today? I don't think so, Greg. That's clutching at straws, but I don't mind your creativity.
Nan is the traditional Wurundjeri language for Melbourne here, well before Melbourne was actually introduced. So, yeah, fair point.
And it's been great to see the Naarm Football Club embrace the Sir Doug Nicholls Indigenous round as they have. I think, going forward, they'll do it in the AFLW as well when it takes its turn to do this too and recognise the contribution of Indigenous culture to the game and to society. And I think the more that the Indigenous culture can filter into society as a whole is only a good thing.
Yeah, it's great. And it took us a little while, or it even took me a little while to get the Melbourne word out of my mouth and start using that. A great initiative, and hope to see more of it.
ABC Footballer of the Year votes, Chris Johnson.
Yes, I handed over to Berkey last week, so we're doing this rotation system, so I'm happy to do that. Special mentions to, obviously, Sean Darcy. He was very good tonight. And I just want to mention Michael Frederick up forward. I thought he was very, very good at the same time. But my one vote goes to tonight. He's a little forward. He's had 18-odd possessions up as a small forward and kicked 4 goals. So Schultz... certainly Lachlan Schultz there. He gets my one vote. And now I guess I look towards some of the midfielders that were up and about. I know Ryan was unlucky to be in the votes as well, but Will Brodie, fantastic. But Andrew Brayshaw will get my 2 votes tonight. He was fantastic within the middle of the ground. He had a number of contested possessions and clearances as well. So 7 contested and 6 clearances. But my 3 votes today go to Will Brodie. 28 possessions, 12 contested possessions, 7 clearances, and 7 inside forward 50s, and 7 score involvements.
He has been a find for them, hasn't he? Traded for a 2nd and a 4th round pick, Will Brodie, and number 9 pick overall out of Shepparton by the Gold Coast. Played 25 games up at the Gold Coast. Couldn't break into the side on a regular basis.
It's a bargain.
And they've found a prime midfielder, and they've got Nat Fyfe, the Brownlow medalist, to come back potentially next week. That's a hell of a luxury. We've got a minute and a half before we're out of here, so we won't get a Fremantle interview by the looks because they are in a meeting. But our WA audience and the rest of our audience, don't worry, we'll send something down the line to play in your next game, whether that's the Western Bulldogs and West Coast or Gold Coast and Hawthorn. So very quickly, Berkey, the ceiling for Fremantle this year. Where do you think it lies after a performance like that?
After that, they've got to be thinking, let's go all the way. Let's finish top 4. That's where they should be aiming. There's absolutely no reason with all the other sides floating around from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that they couldn't be right up at that pointy end.
I think top 2, Berkey. Yep. I think top 2. That way, top 2, they give themselves the 2 home finals if they go win-win, and then be here. If they win those 2 home finals, they'd be here in the last day in September.
The trick is they can't lose to teams that they shouldn't lose to anymore. No more losses to Suns and Collingwood and those sort of games.
And that's probably been where they've faltered in recent years. But you couldn't have asked for more from Fremantle today. That was a stunning performance in the second half. They turned 25 points down and they won by 38, 14-10-94 to Naarm 7-14-56. Jono and Berkey, great to be here to see it all with you. Thanks very much to Jess Webster, to Stu pushing the buttons here, to Kez down in the rooms who'll grab a chat from the Freo rooms for us. That was really something special from the Dockers this afternoon. 38-point winners. A couple of games coming your way tonight. For a lot of our audience, you're headed to Darwin at Marara, the Suns and the Hawks. For our WA listeners, you're headed west for the Eagles and the Western Bulldogs. No matter where you are, enjoy the rest of your night. Plenty more footy to come here on Grandstand.
Ever heard of Helper's High?
The satisfaction, literally, I cannot define in words.
By volunteering our time, we feed our own positive mood and boost our overall physical and mental health. To celebrate the ABC's 90th year of connecting communities, we're asking you to take the 90 for 90 pledge. Just 90 minutes of your time to help a cause that you care about.
One person can make a difference.
For more information, go to our website, ABC Gives.
The Sir Doug Nicholls round.
Hand pass to the runner, Franklin in full flight, Buddy, unguarded goal square, got it. That's exactly what that man can do. The ultimate entertainer.
This is Sir Doug Nicholls round.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Round 11, Sir Doug Nicholls round continues, and we're coming to you from the top end tonight in Darwin for the 23rd time, a match for premiership points in this part of the world. It's the first time, though, since 2020, that memorable Dreamtime fixture between Essendon and Richmond. Tonight, it's the Suns and the Hawks, 2 4 and 6 teams. The winner tonight will be knocking on the door of the top 8, while for the loser, they'll be in the bottom 6 on the competition table at the halfway mark of the season. It is a banging night for footy at Marara. 30 degrees a short time ago. It won't get below 26 while play's underway, and the floodlights have already taken over. The dry season's kicked in. There's no late change for either the Gold Coast or Hawthorn, so they've come in as named. Charlie Constable makes his club debut, the former Cat. He's the sub for the Gold Coast Suns. And Finn McGuinness, the third-generation Hawk, is the sub for Hawthorn. My name's Corbin Middlemass. It is my privilege to be here tonight, and I'm very pleased to say I'm surrounded by a lot of local knowledge, including one man who is a familiar voice to you on ABC Radio. He's been living up here, 7 years now? Rob Cross, and I'm pleased to say he's calling the footy with me tonight. Hello, Crossy.
Great to see you, Corbin. Yes, 7 years I've been here, and I've been lucky enough in that time to see Mel Roses in the 2018 NTFL Grand Final. I think he was a 16-year-old. He played in a one-point losing Grand Final for the Buffaloes against Southern Districts. I've seen Joel Jeffrey on this ground tear it up, and we know he's coming off 5 goals last week. So 2 local players. It'll be tremendous in front of their home fans, their family. It'd be great to see them.
It's their home away from home now. Their academy obviously extends to this part of the world, and you mentioned 2 lads who have come through the Gold Coast Academy and now starring at AFL level, and Jeffrey and Roses will follow their progression throughout the night. While for the Hawks, they become just the 12th team to play a match at this venue. Our expert commentators tonight, first of all, 2-time All-Australian Richmond champion, Joel Bowden. Hello, Joel.
Good evening, Corbin.
I should have said as well, Member of Parliament. Is that the deference that I need to lead with? What's your official title that I should be rolling out nowadays?
Ex-AFL player will do at the moment, but currently I'm the Deputy Speaker and the Chairman of the Estimates. So there's a few things I deal with in the Parliament. But yeah, I went into politics, Corbin. And
you are pretty safe. You won't be getting any of those questions tonight, I can assure you, from me, at least. So
love a good question. Love a good question.
The local knowledge here tonight. So what are we going to get? We talk all the time about games up in Darwin and the dew and the conditions that the guys who play, obviously, the majority of their footy in the southern part of the country encounter. What will they experience tonight?
Well, it's different because, as you said, it was about 30 degrees not long ago. It's probably around 28, 29. Still, it won't get too low. And we've got, another local guy here tonight in Raph Clark, who's played a lot of footy, not just with St Kilda, but also here in the NTFL. And it starts to get slippery. The 26 degrees, 27 degrees. At night, the guys will start to sweat. The ball will start to slip a bit, after the first quarter. The jumpers will be wet and slippery, and it'll be whoever can control the ball and handle it well enough, and hopefully it doesn't turn into a slog. I think we've seen in years gone by here, Rob, Raf, it turns into a bit of a slog. What we want to see is clean ball handling, good delivery, and lots of goals.
You mentioned Raf. He's a former top 10 pick, former St Kilda footballer. Still looks like he's almost below his playing weight. He's in tremendous nick. Raf, it's great to have you with us on ABC Radio.
Thanks, Corbin. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Awesome to be here.
We've got the Welcome to Country coming up. We are on Larrakia country tonight, so would obviously like to acknowledge the traditional owners and everyone, wherever you may be listening across the country. Sir Doug Nicholls round, what does it mean to be able to have this fixture on the calendar?
It's also an experience. Unfortunately, back before I finished up, it wasn't quite amongst it. We didn't get to really do it playing at St Kilda. And to have it in the hometown Darwin like this with such a big Indigenous community, we've seen last year's turnout was amazing, and to see it again tonight, it's going to be a full house. Darwin people love it. Any chance they get to see their superstars, they'll be here in numbers, and especially a big Indigenous crowd.
The storytelling of these rounds are tremendous. You're a multi-clan, but part a Larrakia man. Can you tell us a bit about your background?
Yeah, we've got a bit of Larrakia in me. Both sides of the family from up here, so a bit of Arnhem Land as well, and also across to Wadeye. So almost across the whole of the top end, just about. So quite lucky.
We'll be relying on your local knowledge as well throughout the night. So Ralph Clark and Joel Bowden to take you through it. My name's Corbin Middlemass and Rob Cross. Now, Charlie King, he's Mr. Darwin himself. He's across everything that's happening in this part of the world. He's also the MC as well as working the boundary for us tonight. Let's kick it down for the Welcome to Country.
Torres Strait Islander culture to mark the 30th anniversary of the Mabo decision. Please welcome members of the Maypeebury Dance and Cultural Troupe, Garamilla dancers, Les Huddleston and his two grandsons, Cooper Burdo and Hudson Scott, and Auntie Lorraine Williams to perform their cultural ceremony dance and official Welcome to Country.
I would first like to acknowledge the Larrakia people, the Golobergan and Nangalaba traditional owners of this land. The term Bilira means Aboriginal and the term Mangalaga means language and Galaga means other. Welcoming Indigenous people of all different language groups and cultural heritage backgrounds, I would like to pay my respects to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders, past, present and emerging, and also remembering the stolen generations. The term Baragut Bitter is used for non-Aboriginal people and the term Nimabita means children. I welcome you all to the Gold Coast Suns and the Hawthorn Football Club. Welcome to the grounds of Mayara and Garamalangwa, the Darwin region. Tonight I would like to honour three great men, Pastor Sir Douglas Nichols, Dr. Eddie Koiki Mabo and my father, Victor Williams. It is these men who have advocated and paved the ways forward for our people, and their families continue to do so. In the spirit of reconciliation, to the AFL, the main goal, the 6 points of every reconciliation action plan should be to stomp out racism in this sport. Good evening, my name is Lorraine Williams. I'm a Larrakia, Golomerga and Dangalaba descendant of the saltwater crocodile clan of these lands. On behalf of the Larrakia Nation, we welcome you. In my language, we say Mugri, which means let's go. Have a great night. Nagar.
ceremony performed by the dancers from the Torres Strait Islander dancers, as well as the Larrakia people, of course, with the welcome to country that preceded all of that here at Marara as we get set to go for Saturday night footy up at Marara. It is the Gold Coast and Hawthorn. Corbin Middlemass and Rob Cross to call the footy. Our grandstand AFL experts Joel Bowden and Raph Clark and Charlie King will be with us on the boundary throughout the night. So the Suns and the Hawks, Joel, the story of the season for both of them. So the Suns are 4-6, the Hawks are 4-6. The Suns have won 2 of their last 3, knocking on the door of the top 8. Meanwhile, the Hawks, they feel like they've been on this giant killing run. Their best wins this year have come up against the top 4 teams from last year. They've beaten Geelong, they beat Brisbane in Brisbane last week, and they also scored an impressive win away from home early in the season against Port Adelaide. So fascinating to see how they go against one another tonight.
Yeah, and I think the Gold Coast's form's been really good as well against top 8 teams. So, I mean, just like last night in the game where it was decided by a goal, they were fighting out for the top 8. This is a similar situation, and you think the loser tonight probably goes away to lick their wounds and think about how they might just be able to look to the finals, where the winner will go away from tonight positive and think we can actually make the finals.
Raph, you've played a lot of footy in this part of the world. One of your former teammates, Ben McAvoy, isn't out there tonight. Key narrative around the Hawks is also there without Big Ned Reeves, and they're also without Max Lynch, who got hurt last week. So really they're 3 recognised ruckmen on the list they haven't got. Sam Frost was training in the ruck during the week for Hawthorn. In these conditions, not having a recognised ruckman, is how much of a blow is that?
It's not a big difference up here in Darwin, I reckon, because of the slippery footy. You can get caught out with having too many tours, I think, especially if you take a while to get used to the conditions with that humidity and that slippery footy. So it's more of a quicker outside game up here. If you're quick and adapt to it a lot better, I think that's more a better way to go with a medium-sized ruckman. Might be your best bet.
So if there's ever a game not to have one, it might be this one on the fixture for the Hawks. We've just had the exchange of gifts and the coin toss. So Isaac Rankin out there along with Malcolm Roses and also Joel Jeffrey, the 2 local lads. Meanwhile for Hawthorn, Jarman Impey and Chad Wingard both at the coin toss. Now the 2 jumpers, the Suns are predominantly in red. They've got 2 different cultural groups coming together to design their jumper this year. The Yamaga artist in Yutha Kora from the Gold Coast and Larrakia artist Trent Lee from Darwin. There are 2 distinct animals represented on the Suns jumper. The crocodile, of course, representing the Northern Territory, and the eagle denoting the Gold Coast. The background pattern depicts the waterways, the rivers, the ocean and the skies, which connect both the crocodile and the eagle. Meanwhile for Hawthorn, their jumper, collaborated by Indigenous art business Mimi and Jinder, depicts the core values of the Hawthorn Football Club, primarily community. The circle representing family sits on the top of the neck, and there's a reason for that. The highest possible point depicting family, the most prominent value of the Hawthorn Footy Club. We'll touch base with Charlie King in just a moment. We're set to go here. Quick tips, Joel, who do you like?
I like the Gold Coast, couple of goals.
Raph?
Yeah, I'll go the Gold Coast because the local boys playing. So I'll back young Joel and Malcolm in to get a couple themselves.
The umpires predominantly in light blue. Lee Hawson, Brett Roseberry, one of the most experienced in the game, and Cameron Dorr. The yellow Sharon held aloft. So for the first time in almost 2 years, we got footy back in the top end as Sir Doug Nicholls' round rolls on Grandstand AFL. You're with Rob Cross.
And the only recognised ruckman on the field, Jared Witts, goes up, and he's beaten to it by Koschitzky of Hawthorn. Tom Mitchell, first kick inside, attacking 50 to the airport end. And Wingard in front, had a good game last week. Might be a tackle for in the back. It will be a free kick to Hawthorn, 40 metres out. Pretty slight angle. And Luke Bruce will shoot for goal for the first time for the night.
He's a very good kick, Luke Bruce. I mean, I think he's nearly played 250 games, nearly 500 goals, and this bloke doesn't miss that often. He did get poleaxed just then into the ground, but I think from 45 metres out, he's a good chance.
Just missed one game for the year so far. He's kicked 18 goals from 48 metres out. Bruce kicks and is way just to the right-hand side. First score of the night, one behind Hawthorn. Suns yet to score.
As you said, Joel, that doesn't happen too often. He's 18 goals, 6 for the season coming in. Luke Bruce, first score for the Hawks. From the kick out, it's Weller. It just bangs it all the way up to the wing, but there's a free for a hold.
Brett Roseberry does not miss many.
No, it's going to go Chol's way. So Chol takes it on the wing for the Suns. Kicks up into the front half. Here's Miller at the drop of the ball. Clean pick up. Left-footed kick. Bounces away inside 50. Katz bowled out to meet it. Shoots a hand pass away to another former Blue in Holman. Miller tries to scoop it up. He's turned it over. Scrimshaw had it, lost it. He gives it straight back to Holman. Kicks to the top of the goal square for the Suns. But Jarman Impey's back to take the intercept mark. Top of the defensive goal square for the Hawks.
Good stretch by Impey, goes in towards the back pocket. Got a teammate there in Sicily. And they work it through defensive 50 to Morrison. Now to Nash. He's 70 metres from the goal he's defending. The Michael Long centre end. The left half-back flank. He's been forced to wait quite a while. Just the required distance to Granger Barras. Player running past is Scrimshaw, back from a shoulder injury. And they're setting up nicely with some short passing. Off to Frost, his high kick up towards half forward. It goes inside 50, in fact. Wingard there, dropping back was Collins. Got the spoil through the legs of Ellis. Coming out was Ballard. He missed the football. Still an opportunity for Hawthorn. Kosicki goes off the ground. Little toe poke through the legs of Wingard. The numbers there for the Suns' defence. Weller's there, taken down in a strong tackle. Kosicki got a hand. Gives it off to Newcomb. He's 50 out from goal. Swings onto the right boot. Long kick towards the goal square. The wrestle's on from behind. Couldn't quite complete the mark. Ballard has the opportunity. Got it off to his teammate. And the Suns will clear out towards half back. The mark is taken on the arc of 50. Comes back onto the bounce to Powell.
So Powell swings his kick across the goal mouth out to Alice. And Premiership Tiger remarks in the back pocket. Charlie King's with us on the boundary. Charlie, good evening to you.
Good evening and welcome to Darwin. Nice to have you here. Good crowd on hand. They're expecting 7,000. They're going to get that.
Absolutely. We'll keep close throughout the night. Charlie King riding the boundary for us as Ellis kicks down the wing. Spells to Bramble. He's tackled front arm by Casbolt. We'll have a ball up on the wing. Just repeating, no late changes. Corbin Middlemass, Rob Cross, Ralph Clark and Joel Bowden upstairs. Charlie King on the boundary. The first score of the game, a behind for the Hawks, 2 minutes in.
In front of the grandstand, Weller shrugs the tackle. Miller first to it. Shields takes him to ground. Illegally, said the umpire. Held him without the football. And Took Miller, wonderful player, has got it at left half back. Back to Weller, who's been busy in the last 60 seconds. He had Ellis short, but he's going to go longer than that. Runs around Mitchell on the mark. Kicks towards half forward. Chol's about 4 deep. And the mark is paid to the man in front.
Even if you're a forward, sometimes you've got to punch. He had to bring that ball to ground.
Granger Barras kicks it back inside defensive 50 to Jaff. Exciting player. Looking forward to seeing him tonight. Out to Scrimshaw. Another disposal. The hard-running Newcomb is now at half-back after having a long shot on goal just a couple of minutes ago. What a finder he is. The mid-season draft, of course, coming up in next week on Wednesday. And that's where they found Jai Newcomb out of their Box Hill team. There's a turnover. Ballard sweeps the handball over the top, but sells his teammate straight into trouble. Strong tackle, but it was a high tackle. And so the Suns will come up with a free kick on the outer side. And it's going to Sharp back in this week.
He's one of 4 that have come back for the Gold Coast from the side which narrowly lost to the Bulldogs down in Ballarat. High kick to half forward. Getting back is Scrimshaw. No mark. Spills down to Swallow. Hand pass is picked off. And Chancroft Jaff, look at him go. Running towards his defensive goal line. Hand pass away to Impey. Hurried kick out of 50 and a strong grab as Sharp goes up over the shoulders of his own teammate in Rao to chop it off and take the intercept mark for the Suns. They lock it inside their front half. Short kick inside 50 and Ainsworth hitting up. Takes the mark on that channel at right half forward, and he can have the first shot at goal for the Suns tonight, 3.5 minutes in. Ben Ainsworth, one of 16 in the Suns lineup that have played here previously at Marara. There's only 2 out there for the Hawks, so just Sam Frost and Chad Wingard in different colours playing a premiership game here in the past. Ainsworth very close to the man on the mark, gets it past him, but the kick slides out to the left, to behind. The Suns have 1 behind, so do the Hawks, 4 minutes in. Grandstand AFL.
Ball brought back into play. Impey has the handball back to his teammate. The 1-2 work though, and they'll clear defensive 50. It's out to Morrison, forced onto his left boot, but it's a good one. Down the throw to Frost. Was thrown forward last week and kicked a great goal in the Hawks' great win over the Brisbane Lions. That was after 4 losses in a row. They bounced back. Great fashion. The Sharps dribbly kick
stays in play, and Impey gets another possession. He's kicked to Newcomb. Great mark, heavy pressure coming from behind. Gives it off to Jath. He bounces his way from Miller, who doesn't give up on the chase. Out to Sicily. Sicily can send it at wider to Mitchell. He's 70 from goal at right half forward. Ellis on the mark. Mitchell can run around him now and bomb it long. He's got a couple of tall targets at the top of the goal square. Kajitsky's there. Lewis there. Stripping him of the footballs more. His kick across the face, and Weller marks. 20 metres out from the goal he's defending. He'll play on straight away. So Weller takes on Nash on the mark, goes for a run out to half-back, kicks down the wing. Joel the target, can't take it one-handed. Jath passing through for the Hawks, knocks it away to Scrimshaw. Hawthorn back on it, hand pass in the middle of the ground. Wanted Newcomb, falls over. Rankin keeps his feet, wins possession, kicks to half forward, and Ainsworth's out. There's no one in front of him. He takes the mark, plays on. Show him your tail lights, Ainsworth, into the open goal. He bounces twice and pops it through for the first of the night. The Suns are in business. 6 minutes in. Gold Coast 1-1-7. Hawthorn 1 behind. Grandstand AFL, Ralph Clark and Joel Bowden.
Well, that's the modern game, isn't it? The modern game of a bloke can run in 50 metres by himself, have a couple of bounces and kick a goal. But it comes to Chol, I think, on the wing. Hawthorn outnumbered Chol 4-1. He managed to put a tackle on. He managed to get the ball in dispute. It comes out because they'd all gone to that contest. I think it was Rankin got out the back. The ball gets transferred. He's able to run in, a couple of bounces, kick the easiest of goals. I would have loved one of them in my day. Raph. Actually, it was Ainsworth, Ainsworth.
Yeah, Charles' work there off the ball was amazing to get it to go their way, and they end up with a spare at the back and easy goal.
Rankin kicked it over to Ainsworth.
Witts up against Kosicki. Witts just stands his ground, and a wonderful tap found his teammate in Anderson. High kick to the top of the goal square. Caught behind there was Casbolt, but reached around illegally, said the umpire, to bring it to ground. But it was a over-the-shoulder free kick paid, and it's got to come back. And now it's flared out to Sicily. He's got Bramble further down the line in front of the grandstand. He kicks in the Kosicki direction, back towards the middle of Marara. Witts clever handball to Ellis. Bramble's tackle was good. Anderson taken in a tackle, back to Impey, another disposal. Mitchell one way then the other, finds his left boot. Ballard intercepts, takes the mark in front of Kosicki. 80 from goal, left half forward. Centering the ball is excellent to Swallow. Inside the centre square from 70 metres, bombs it long. Roses away to the crumb. Casbolt from behind, couldn't take the second grab. Quick over the top and a squeeze through for
Roses. They're local.
Lovely handball over the top. Roses was waiting for it. And on a tough angle, running away from goal, he's dribbled it through for the Suns' second. 2-1-13, Hawks 1 behind 1 point.
Yeah, it was interesting that both Malcolm and Joel started on the bench. I thought you would have taken the local knowledge and started them on the ground, and especially after Joel's 5 goals last week. But yeah, good to see him have an impact straight away.
And again, a good contest from a forward. Levi Casvold, who came across from Carlton uncertain of his future, you'd probably say 6 months ago, creates a good contest. The ball was 15 metres out in front of goal, handball over, and young Malley snaps it with his left foot. Beautiful.
NT Thunder, Darwin Buffaloes.
Buffaloes, yep. And he spent a couple of years now over in the Gold Coast and starting to find his feet, which is wonderful, and we just hope he can have a fine career over a long period of time.
He's the kind of guy that has speed you can see, Malcolm Ross, just the way that he moves. I know Essendon had a lot of interest in him in last year's trade period, weren't able to get it done, and as a result he's still at the Suns and having an impact. They've kicked the first to the Gold Coast. They lead it by 12 points, 8.5 minutes in. There's a free in the middle, and it's going to go to Took Miller. It's against Shields for a high tackle, so the Suns will get another centre break here. That really is one of the big weaknesses in Hawthorn's game. They're the worst clearance team in the league. Hand pass away towards Markov off the back of the square, drives it to the hot spot. Offhand, spills down to Bramble. He's tackled, taken to ground. And we'll have a ball up 35 metres out from the Suns' attacking goal. They're kicking to the Michael Long centre, that end of the ground in this opening term here at Marara. The clearance work won't be helped with Amira not travelling to Darwin with a hamstring problem. As Collins over his head. He'd wrestled Lewis off the football. Running back well was Graham. Strong tackle. And Sam Butler wins the free kick, bringing Will Powell to ground. That's better by the Hawks. They need a goal. Suns are in control. Off to Will Day. The handballs are back to Butler. Back to Day on the bounce. Ellis comes to track him down, closes him down and wins the free kick for a strong tackle. Day, one of those rare players. Corbin, I know you like this stat. It was a medi-sub last week, but playing this week. We do like those.
Swallow.
Inboard to Anderson, who's been busy, as a Sharp, and he marks out on the wing, just defensive side of the wing. Markov running hard, the former Tiger. Kick not great, but he's got plenty of time to run onto the footy. Moore comes at him. Markov inside attacking 50. Chol there, Casbolt there. The big spoil over the top from the Hawthorn defence was strong, and it goes out of bounds in the right forward pocket. 2-1-13 the Suns. Hawks 1 behind 1 point. 10 minutes gone first quarter.
You know I'm hot on them, Crossy. These players that are subbed out and then back up the next week. It's a growing trend in the game. I think they're... I say I think, but I'm keeping these stats as we go. So 18% of all subbed out players back up the next week, and Will Day's now part of that. Boundary throw in forward pocket for the Suns. Witt's had it, gets a second go at it, and he's tackled and taken down.
I'm glad he's here, though, Corbin, because he's an exciting player.
I agree. It feels like the man behind me brought about a rule change with the rush behind it, and maybe we could have another rule change brought on by the flood of players backing up after being subbed out. We've got another stoppage here as Newcomb's locked up by Witts. Corbin Middlemass, Rob Cross, Ralph Clark, Joel Bowden, and Charlie King on Grandstand AFL. Still inside the Suns forward 50. Another stoppage. Little fumble there from Roses. Bramble at centre half back. Picks it up clean. Tackled for the Hawks. Hand pass away to Scrimshaw. Gives it to Hardwick. He kicks out wide and the mark taken by Sicily. Half back for the Hawks.
He looked to go down the line and then he'll switch play to the left back pocket instead. Neat sidestep came from Morrison. Then to Mitchell. Still inside defensive 50. Not sure where to go. It just slid off the palm of the hand. They'll get away with it. Mitchell got it back from Morrison. Kicks to the wing and pinpoint pass. Shields marks. So Liam Shields closing in on game 250. 2:49 tonight. Kicks inside attacking 50. Over the top. Slips off the hands of Lewis. Well done by Butler to lay some pressure. Ballard, though, for the Suns mops up and kicks it out towards the wing. Sharp yet again. Gets it, gives it to Powell. About to be shut down there by Moore. Gets his kick further down towards the right half forward flank. Granger Barras flew high, but there was an infringement. It's going to Mabior Chol.
Former Tiger in his first year with the Suns. Chol as kicks along to Casbolt. One out in the cage with Sicily. Sicily spoils. Spills down underneath a pack of players. In the end, it's Miller who stands up, hands it out, but straight to Sicily. Just dumps a kick out of the defensive arc. Mitchell in one direction, Powell the other. Ball spills past both of them into the path of Moore. Hand pass back to Mitchell for the Hawks. Kicks down the wing. Here's Ballard. He spun around in the tackle. Got a hand pass away to Markov. To Butterick off his non-preferred left boot. Straightens up to Davies, who marks on the wing for the Suns.
And Davies an inclusion this afternoon or this evening. Crush was Casbolt.
Front on contact.
Granger Barras was the infringer, and Casbolt will win a free. He's at right half forward, about 55 out. At his best, he'd be a bit of a chance, but he's going to just set it up and poke it over the top. Beautifully weighted kick by big Levi. Hits Rankin on the chest, and he'll shoot from about 40 metres out, 45-degree angle. He's got some touch, big Levi, the former Blue.
Got a bit excited then. I thought that was young Joel out on the lead.
Casbolt's been a great player every game for the Suns this year. He's kicked 20 goals. He's one of 11 Suns players in tonight's lineup. He's played every match. But Rankin been spending some time in the middle. It's inside 50. Only pretty good on the set shot. This might be just swinging away to the left. No, it's clapped through, and the Suns' hot start continues. 13 and a half minutes gone first quarter here at Marara on Grandstand AFL. The Suns 3-1-19. The Hawks 1 behind 1 point.
Seems to me, Raf, that the big forwards at the Suns are getting a lot of attention from their opposition, and they're causing a little bit of havoc because they're getting free kicks. I mean, Chol was disappointing about 10 minutes ago when we called him not springing the ball to ground. Since then, he's been all over it, and we've seen free kick after free kick against Hawthorn, which has led to these goals. And the Suns go 3 goals 1 to 1 point.
Yeah, and all their goals have come through their big men having an impact. So. And Hawthorn haven't had any tall forwards actually jumping at the ball and making the contest like we've seen opposite end.
Meanwhile, the other game tonight, the Western Bulldogs by 15 points over the Eagles, so that's 23 minutes into the opening quarter. They're slightly ahead of us there in game time. Back in the middle here, the Suns again, another centre break. Rowell out of the middle, kicks to Rankin. He's going to get a free. Had his jumper held by Hardwick, so another free kick for the Suns and another forward entry coming up.
Seems to have been a lot of free kicks already in this game.
It's a growing trend across the competition as well. What did we have? 60 last night. In the Friday night fixture, as Rankin heard the voice, trying to give a hand pass away to Powell, and Butler sweating on him straight away, lays another tackle. Pack forms, he's in trouble, Powell, and he's caught for the second time. And Sam Butler kicked a couple of goals last week, his first and second in AFL footy. The younger brother of a Richmond premiership player, Dan Butler, a first-year player making an impact for the Hawks, gets the free at half-back, kicks down the wing. There's another whistle, Joel, and it's going the Suns' way this time. A free kick to be taken by big Caleb Graham. He's got the roll on Mitch Lewis, takes it on the wing for the Suns.
I think Lewis just nudged him out under the ball there, and maybe 50-50, but the umpies are paying him.
Markov providing some good run, received and kicks inside 50. Casbold hands to it, slips through the fingertips. Is it starting to get slippery? It still feels reasonably dry. Here's Jeffrey throwing it on the left boot. Kick was smothered, goes out of bounds. Right forward pocket, 30 metres around from the Suns' goal. 3-1-19 Gold Coast. Hawks one behind, 1 point. 16 minutes gone first quarter. Suns played here a couple of years ago against the Blues. It was very low scoring, 7-18 to 4-3 the Blues' way. Scrimmage inside the attacking 50 for the Suns, and there'll be a ball up 30 metres out from their goal.
There's a very late whistle on that. They've just blown holding the ball, so it, as you said, Rob, it looked as if, I think that's come from the non-controlling umpire, so Rosebery on the spot, eventually blowing the whistle for holding the ball after it looked like it was going to be a ball up. So Newcomb takes it for the Hawks. Long kick out of defensive 50, and Morrison marks defensive side of the wing for the Hawks. Cuts back into the middle of Marara Oval. Here's Impey, turns and heads to centre half forward for the Hawks. Lewis out of position. Butterick flies, no mark, spills down to Bruce. Chucks it on the left boot. Bruce just kicks Hawthorn's first. Behind to start the game, and now he's got a major. The Hawks with their first. And he's got their entire score. It's Hawthorn 1-1-7 off the boot of Luke Bruce. The Suns out in front, 3-1-19. A 12-point game the Suns' way on Grandstand AFL. 17 minutes into the opening term. Ruff Clark and Joel Bowden.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to take a while. It looked like it's going to be an awkward way with Hawthorn, the way they were entering their forward 50s. But that kick, even from Impey, the way it came in, looked like it was going to the wrong spot. And Bruce was lucky enough to turn his man and beat him at the back and finish with a nice left foot.
He's been a great player for over a decade, over 200 games, and he has finished that off beautifully from about 45 metres, snapping it around his body on his non-preferred foot, and it went through, above the goal umpire's head. He is just a fabulous player, Luke Bruce.
Gold Coast skipper Witts against Frost this time. Connor Nash kicks it along in front of himself. Gets up to half forward. Clever tap on by Frost into the path of Wingard. Handball to Bruce. Goes to ground. Gives to Mitchell. Throws it cleverly on the left boot. Hand to foot was excellent. But just away to the right-hand side and only behind. 1-2-8 Hawthorn. Suns 3-1-19. 18 minutes gone.
Power goes straight up the pipe on the kick out. And Collins takes the mark. He's in the news during the week after holding Aaron Norton goalless for 3 quarters. Drew a bit of attention from Luke Beveridge. He goes short to Markov. Kicks on the outer edge of the centre square for Anderson. And all of a sudden they've gone from the kick out inside 50. Big leap from Jeffrey. And he takes the mark. It was about 3 in the pack. He took the fly, and Joel Jeffrey hangs onto it on his way down to earth.
I saw Russell Jeffrey on the way into the ground. He looked very serious. He had his camping chair under his arm, so I reckon he's over on that hill watching his son line up for this goal. What a moment here in the Northern Territory. Darwin.
You'll definitely know if it's going through before we will, because you'll hear a roar over that side, I reckon.
He kicked 5 straight last week, the rising star Nom, including 1 over his bonds. He moves in here in the more conventional drop punt. It fades. Big leap from Casbolt on the behind line, but it slips out of play. And a boundary throw in. Forward pocket for the Suns, but a highlight early for Joel Jeffrey. We've had a goal for Malcolm Roses, the 2 homecoming lads for the Gold Coast Suns. They lead the game by 12 points, 19 minutes into the opening term.
They've got it hard up against the behind post in their left forward pocket. Roses sweating on it. Witts tapped it to the front of the pack. Roses was behind that contest and goes through for a rush behind. 3-1 the Suns. I should say 3-2 now. Hawks are 1-2-8.
It's a very still night too. There seems to be no wind. The flags seem to be very still. So with the goal scoring, it's very inaccurate.
Is there usually an end the scoring favours here?
Yeah, it sort of blows towards a airport end, which is the opposite end to the Michael Long Centre.
That's the end Hawthorn are kicking to, and they're running to, streaming forward. Butler gives the handball over the top. It was an awkward one for Bruce. Butler ducks through a tackle, gets the handball away looking for Jaff, intercepted by Ellis. On the bounce, he finds his teammate, which is chopped down. Butterick it was, gives it back to Ellis, and Ellis got a nice shepherd from Holman and gets the kick up towards the wing. Roses stretched through his fingertips on the wing. Howe gets it for Hawthorn, squeezes the ball to Granger Barras. He gives it out to Mitchell. That was good foresight. It appeared no one was there, but it got to Mitchell on the bounce, and he gives it to Morrison, just defensive side of the centre circle. Harry Morrison, the godson of the late Ken Judge, and wearing his old number, the man they used to call Ace for the Hawthorn Football Club in number 1. Off to Howe, who kicks to half forward. Kazitsky flies, no mark. Spills to Ellis, hand pass to Markov, and off he goes. The Suns, the run and carry continues. Hand pass to Jeffrey. Bangs it long to Roses. Got a one-on-one deep. Tracked the footy beautifully. Doubles back and takes the mark. Shook his direct opponent. And Jeffrey to Roses. And now a chance for the two local lads to combine with a major. Roses going back to take the set shot at centre half forward.
Very good counter attack there. The ball turned over at half back and they just slingshotted it forward. Joel Jeffrey got it in as quickly as he could long, and little Mally Roses has done a beautiful job there, taking a contested mark 35 metres out in front of goal.
Yeah, he played a couple of little tricks there while it was coming in, and opposition facing up the other way, and he outplayed him. Very smart.
So Malcolm Roses, the 20-year-old for the Gold Coast Suns, moves in, left-footed drop punt is out to the right. It stays there. Behind. So Suns are 3-3. Hawks are 1-2. It's a 13-point lead for the Suns. Time on in the opening quarter. Meanwhile, earlier today, a huge boil over at the MCG. Fremantle by 38 points over Nam. So the Demons' first loss of the new season. The Dockers kicked 12 goals to 1 after half-time to upset the D's. Scrimshaw's long kick clears the two ruckmen who are jostling. Comes to Davies on centre wing, outer side. Witts, good agility for a big man. Frost lays a big tackle out to stop the forward movement. No prior opportunity. There'll be a ball up on the logo on the outer side. Just true centre wing position. Lots of people out on the grass there in the chairs. The bring your own chairs, as Joel Bowden alluded to. Here's Will Day, one of my favourite Hawks, marking. And quickly plays on to Scrimshaw. At the top to McDonald, number 26 draft pick in the 2021 National Draft. His kick is spot on and finds Koshitsky on the chest. 30 metres out, slide angle, kick into the airport end. A chance for the Hawks second.
And they worked their way through there with forward handballs. You know, because the man has to stand on the mark, the Hawk player ran at the man on the mark, handballed it forward, two more forward handballs, opens it up, they get inside 50, and here we have a shot on goals. An uncontested mark then in the end.
Kositsky's doing the bulk of the ruck work tonight, having a spell forward and a chance to bring the Hawks a little closer. He's away to the left-hand side. The margin is now 12 points. 1-3 plays 3-3. Suns lead it. 21 minutes gone first quarter. Quarter time in Perth. The Dogs by 21 points over the Eagles, so already wide there. 6-3 to 3 straight. As the Suns work it all the way up to the wing. Holman flies for it. Jaff back with the flight, got a hand on it. Spills to Holman though with the Gold Coast. Short kick to Swallow, who takes the mark just forward of the logo. On the outer wing, looks inside the forward 50. Big leap at the back from Jeffrey. Can't take the mark. Spills to Chol. Chol clean pick up. Now tackled, dispossessed, centre half forward. But Frost there for Hawthorn just socks it 40 metres further afield. Up to the wing. Kazitsky tries to go up the deck with his left boot. Didn't quite come off. Chad Wingard up to meet it. Tackled. Now lost it. Here's Markov. Wingard follows up with the tackle. Got a hand pass in the direction of Swallow. Suns regather. Right on halfway to Miller. Short kick. And he finds Holman. Holman can look inside the forward 50. Takes on Jaff. Got Chol free. And Chol marks 20 out directly in front. And they were caught out again, the Suns, or the Hawks rather, on the overlap. And the Suns can go back and try to kick number 4.
And it was only a small thing, Corbin, but Matt Rao put a little shepherd on there, which gave the other Gold Coast player, Holman, just that little bit extra time. It won't go down on the stat sheet. No one really would have seen it. No one's going to go over him and give him high fives, but allows that kick inside 50 and Chol gets a shot on goal. One little shepherd can break the whole thing open.
They've been slow starters this year, the Suns, leading just twice previously at quarter time. Marbior Chol moves in, slots it. Not tonight. These Suns have got the fast start up in Darwin. Gold Coast 4-3-27, Hawthorn 1-3-9. All of a sudden, it's a 18-point break for the Suns. 22 minutes into the opening quarter. Charlie King's on the boundary for us. Any activity downstairs, Charlie?
Oh, plenty happening down here, team. I'll tell you what, that forward line of the Suns is fantastic, and their defence is so stingy. It took Hawthorn nearly all of this quarter to figure out how they could break that strong defence down there. But I just want to mention Brett Roseberry out there as well. Strong Darwin connection before he got to the AFL. He spent about 5 seasons up here, so he's a Territorian.
Good point, Charlie. We'll claim him. He's been a fantastic umbrella. I think he must have umpired 5, 6, maybe more grand finals.
Yeah. Witts wins the tap, gets it out to Swallow. Out towards right half forward. Holman wrestles, brings the ball to ground. Nash lays a strong tackle. Comes to Davies, squeezes the handball out. Good strong tackling by Jath. It's outside defensive 50. Hawks have the numbers. Mitchell gave it off to Scrimshaw. And his short ball was good to McDonald. Connor McDonald showing a lot of promise. Had a rest last week. He's back in today, in from the side shield. Big spoil came from over the top from Weller. Tapped along the ground by Frost was clever to Jath. To Wingard. Goes back to Jath. As the siren sounds, the Hawks were bursting in towards 50. Although
Free
the
kick.
There is, and it's going to Wingard. He's going to have a long shot. He'll be about 65 metres out.
Glad no one kicked the ball away then.
This is when he needs that airport end breeze behind his back. As you can see, the flag's just directly behind him there, quite still.
So here comes the talk from Chad Wingard. He doesn't get onto it at all and barely goes half the distance. So quarter time here at Marara. The Suns 4-3-27, the Hawks 1-3-9. The goal kick is in that opening quarter. 1 for Mabior Chol, 1 for Ben Ainsworth, Isaac Rankin and Malcolm Roses. Kicked the second goal of the night. The lad from Darwin on his return to play here. It's his first AFL game at the venue, along with Joel Jeffrey, and the Suns have another 16 players that have played here for premiership points in the past. Meanwhile, for Hawthorn, Luke Bruce is their only goal kicker in that opening quarter. So 4-3 to 1-3. It is an 18-point advantage for the Suns at quarter time. Meanwhile, the game running concurrently over in Perth. It's quarter time there as well. The Western Bulldogs by 21 points over the Eagles, 6-3 to 3 straight. And earlier today, Fremantle over Narm by 38 points. The D's first loss in 17 games. An amazing streak that they were on, the defending premiers, but it's come to an end. A big second half for the Dockers, kicking 12 of the last 13 goals. On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital, this is Grandstand AFL.
Dad, we're back! They're your favourite healers. No! And you said you wanted more?
Definitely.
Well, we've got more.
But you have to promise not to do any more disgusting things.
What?
More mischief.
Make up your mind!
More games.
What does this button do?
And maybe just a few more disgusting things.
What? This is outrageous.
Brand new Bluey.
Yes!
Stream from Monday, June 13 on ABC iView.
Bluey!
This is Sir Doug Nicholls Round
Grandstand AFL
on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Rankin keeps his feet, wins possession, kicks to half forward and Ainsworth's out. There's no one in front of him. He takes the mark, plays on. Show him your tail lights, Ainsworth, into the open goal. He bounces twice and pops it through for the first of the night. Mitchell, one way than the other, finds his left boot. Ballard intercepts, takes the mark in front of Koschitzky. 80 from goal, left half forward. Centering the ball is excellent. The Swallow inside the centre square from 70 metres. Bombs it long. Roses away to the crumb. Casbold from behind. Couldn't take the second grab. Quick over the top and a squeeze through for
Roses. They're local.
Casbolt will win a free, but he's going to just set it up and poke it over the top. Beautifully weighted kick by Big Levi. Hits Rankin on the chest, and he'll shoot from about 40 metres out, 45-degree angle. Really pretty good on the set shot. Might be just swinging away to the left. No, it's clapped through, and the Suns' hot start continues. Here's Impey, turns and heads to centre half forward for the Hawks. Lewis out of position. Butterick flies, no mark, spills down to Bruce. Chucks it on the left foot. Bruce just kicks Hawthorn's first. Suns regather right on halfway to Miller, short kick, and he finds Holman. Holman can look inside the forward 50, takes on Jath, got Chol free, and Chol marks 20 out directly in front. Marbior Chol moves in, slots it.
The Sir Doug Nichols Round
on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Sounds there at the opening quarter up at Marara Oval in Darwin. Footy returning to the top end. It's the first AFL game played here since the middle of the pandemic back in 2020. The last fixture was that memorable Dreamtime game between Essendon and Richmond. Tonight it's the Suns and the Hawks. One team looking to keep pace with the top 8, and for the other they'll be in the bottom 6 at the end of the weekend. And of course, once we get to the end of the weekend, it'll be the halfway mark of the season. 11 games down with another 11 to play. Suns by 18 points. It's only the third time all year they've led at quarter time. Joel Bowden and Raf Clark with their take on that opening quarter.
Well, interestingly, Ben McAvoy's down there with the neck brace on, and Hawthorn are missing a ruckman. I think it's be fair to say that Witts has had pretty much every hit out, which has given the Gold Coast Suns a hell of a lot of ball early. Hawthorn really, I thought, used the ball well, Raf, across half-back with their feet. They were hitting targets. They were doing 5, 6, 7 kicks. But then it broke down as they got forward. They were going longer into their forward line. They weren't able to follow up. And the Gold Coast then just ran it away. And we saw one of those unusual goals for us old blokes who played many years ago, where a guy runs in, has a bounce and just toe pokes it through. So
3 bounces,
it's been a very interesting first quarter, and I think towards the end of that quarter the ball started to get a bit slippery. We started to see a few fumbles, and we can see out on the field now some of the grass, the turf has been dug up a bit where people are slipping, because as we know up here, Raf, it starts to get a little bit slippery and dewy, even though it's not too hot, but it is getting a bit dewy. How do you see it?
Yeah, exactly. Hawthorn were using it really well across half-back, and once they got to that half-forward area, they sort of struggled for a taller option or a big market target, like Gold Coast had the taller couple with Casbolt and Chow jumping at the ball and making contests. But the Gold Coast seemed really controlled across their half-back line and read it really well as well, came on in and intercepted a lot of marks and turned it over, and really looked like they scored a lot of their goals from that turnover area.
And then to add a bit of local flavour in it, we've had Mally Roses kick one, snapped one from a handball out of a pack, and then we've had a great mark from Joel Jeffrey who failed to trouble the scorers, and then we had Mally take a good mark late in that quarter, and it would have been nice just to cap that quarter off, not just for him and the local families and friends of his, but for the Gold Coast Suns to kick another goal, because I think as it stands right now, you've got to say that the Suns are on top of them, and 4 goals to 1 in the first quarter. If Hawthorn don't get off to a good start and they don't actually use the ball going forward a bit better, I think they're going to struggle. Yeah,
and it's interesting that in that quarter-time break, Gold Coast ran into the air-conditioned room where the Hawthorn stayed out in the field, so whether that plays a part in it as well, I'm not sure. If the Hawthorn need to adapt to the conditions, and that's why they've stayed out there.
Is there a bit of psychology with that with the locals up here?
It could be. I'd prefer to stay out in the conditions and instead of trying to go and cool yourself down, because I think the breathing and the coolness of it all just changes your body too much, I think.
The temperature currently in Melbourne, where the Hawks have come from, is around 7 or 8 degrees, so it's a bit different up here with about 20 more on top of that. Second quarter action underway. Witts wins the hit out for the Suns. They lead the game by 18. He's dominating that category, but the Hawks shark it. So Morrison to Day and now to Mitchell, and the Brownlow medalist goes long inside 50 and just waiting for it. Ballard takes the intercept mark on his chest at centre half back for the Suns. He flares it out to the wing. This is Holman who marks and immediately wants to move it, as the Suns have done all night. Hand pass to Weller, takes on the tackler, hand pass over his shoulder, Witts goes to ground, and then McDonald just knocks it away to Mitchell, scoops it up off half back and away to Bramble for the Hawks.
The Hawks go down the outer side, up towards half forward. Well done by Ballard, he's played a strong defensive role all night, kicks up towards half forward. Playing in front was Granger Barras in front of Chol, and he marks strongly. Between the eyes, 60 metres out from the goal, he's defending, or would have been just touched by the man on the mark there. So it's coming back inside, attacking 50. Bad turnover, Hawthorn, straight on the chest of Rankin, and he marks in front of Jath, who'll kick from 45.
Just a touch on it from Chol. He's just got his hands up enough. The short kick going forward just got turned over, and the result is Rankin's going to have a shot at goal, 45 metres out on a 45-50 degree angle.
He's kicked one already tonight.
Yeah, he's had plenty of the footy across that half forward line already.
to be a bright start for the Suns. They lead by 3 goals already. Do they lead by 4? He's across the face of goal, and the margin is 19 points. 1.5 minutes gone, second quarter here on Grandstand AFL. Suns 4-4, Hawks 1-3.
Hit out numbers 12-1. Gold Coast way. The Hawks obviously without a recognised ruckman. The inside 50 count 17-9. Suns way, they lead it, as Crossy said, by 19 points. Sicily long kick to the wing. Collins can't mark but follows up. Suns win it back, broadcast side. Hand pass to Ellis. Kicks back inside 50. Sicily, good grab. Takes it overhead in the defensive arc for Hawthorn. Short kick to Mitchell. And he swings his kick out to the back pocket for Jaff. Pokes it out of the defensive 50, and here's Daniel Howe up against the boundary line. He'll just go long down the line. Day moving for him, got hands to it, attacked front on by Butterick, knocks it out of his grasp and over the boundary line, all legal. And a boundary throw in right on halfway. Charlie King's on the boundary for us. Charlie, what did you pick up there at quarter time?
Oh, the crowd, a typical Darwin crowd, they don't leave home until halfway through the first quarter, so the swell, they've got about, I reckon it's over 7,000 already.
Chol does well, wrestles his opponent. He doesn't do that well, he's given away a free kick. There seemed to be minimal touch on his opponent, Granger Barras, but the umpire didn't see it that way. Luckily for Hawthorn, Granger Barras has it 30 metres out from the goal he's defending at the airport end.
It was lucky, because if there wasn't a free kick paid, the ball had spilled over the back and Chol would have run into an open goal.
And Chol, no gesticulating, just very calmly speaking to the umpire, I dare say, out of the corner of his mouth. No dissent, free kick. Ball comes out wide to the wing, where Mitchell marks for the Hawks. He's been busy again tonight.
This will be his 14th possession, Tom Mitchell. He knows how to accumulate.
Amazing player, isn't he? A former Brownlow medalist. His kick's not great, though. Straight down the throat of Weller, defensive side of the centre. Weller plays on quickly, kicks up towards centre half forward. Casbolt buffets his opponent out of the way. Couldn't take the mark. Holman does well at half forward. Gives it to Anderson off the side of the boot. Clever, deliberate kick. Tapped beautifully by Rankin to Chol. He shouldn't miss, and he has. Mabio Chol. And a push has been paid, so he'll get a free kick and a second opportunity. Rankin came in to stir up the Hawk defender and got pushed over for his troubles. The umpire wasn't going to be sucked in for that, and so Chol will still take the kick from where he received the free kick, about 20 metres out, if that, slight angle.
Well, I missed the free kick, but he shouldn't have missed the goal. I mean, he gets a second opportunity here, but he should have put that through. He was only 20 metres out.
On his left foot as well.
On his left foot, kick it through. Just kick it to the goal umpire.
Joel for his second of the night. He's kicked 20 for the year so far. For the Suns' 5th goal. And he squeezes it through. He made the goal umpire work, but it is his second. The Suns get their 5th. 5-4-34. They lead by 25 points. The Hawks 1-3-9. 4.5 gone, second quarter.
That's a goal from a turnover. Tom Mitchell, who has accumulated 14 possessions already, missed that target coming through centre wing. The Gold Coast Suns slingshot it back, get it in. I mean, yes, Chol should have kicked the goal first time round, but he gets a second chance. And although he made the goal umpire work, he's put it through, and the Suns are looking pretty good.
Yeah, once again, they've cleaned it up from that half back line and bring it back straight through into the forward 50, and another resultant goal.
We talked a bit about the free kick count during the week. So the game that Hawthorn played last week, there were 63 free kicks in the game against the Brisbane Lions down in Tasmania. There were 60 last night. And we've already had 17 so far tonight. We're only 4 minutes into the second quarter. So we're on track to beat that number. The SMS tonight, if you want to contribute throughout the broadcast, or you got something for Joel or Raph, 0437 774 774. Hawks a rare centre break here, as Chad Wingard's off and running out towards the broadcast wing, kicks a helicopter inside 50, and Ballard did well to mark it. Tall defender for the Suns, top of the defensive goal square. Just chips it short to Collins. Looks like he's got the job on Mitch Lewis, the key forward, the young star for the Hawks. He goes short to Graham. And another tall brought in to straighten up that defensive unit for the Gold Coast Suns, as Graham goes long down the wing. Chol flies, no mark, spills front and centre. Holman kept it in front of him. Now Ainsworth over it, rides a bump from Jaff. Spills to Witts. He's well tackled, taken to ground. He's in strife, Witts. Ump says play on. Rao grabs it, snaps a kick inside 50. Rankin spills the mark, follows up. There's a few free Suns forward. One of them is Anderson, who skids in to take the mark on his knees. And he's got it at right half forward. He can have a shot here for the Gold Coast, about 45 metres out.
Yeah, I thought Big Wits was gone then. And
Yeah.
somehow they let it play on and it popped out. And I think everyone got caught off guard. All the Hawthorn backs were expecting a free kick to be paid for holding the ball. And next thing it comes firing out.
I was preparing to update my free kick tally. I thought we were about to go from 17 to 18. And now we got a bit of general play. So Rao with the inside 50 and his mate Noah Anderson picked one pick after him a few years back. He's a beautiful right foot kick. He is a goal kicker. Noah Anderson pumps it straight through. And the Suns are off and running. They lead by 31 points. 7 minutes into the second term. The Hawks stagnant 139. The Gold Coast 6-4-40.
Seemed to be their best spot, I reckon, to kick goals from that 45-degree angle in this front of this grandstand side where we're sitting right now. That goal was kicked from. A lot of goals kicked from that spot. It's probably
it's one of those
spot,
things, Raph, it's where everyone trains. Everyone trains on this side of the ground. They all have shots from this side, and they know where it goes. Now, that's obviously not Noah Anderson, but I think if Hawthorn don't get control here very soon, and they might have to change it up, they may have to play some other type. They might have to try and bunch it up. But as you said, Corbin, everyone stopped there thinking Wits might have had a free kick against. All of a sudden, there's another goal.
Wits back in the middle against Koschitzki, who beats Wits this time down to the path of Nash, but he's immediately wrapped up in a strong tackle by Swallow. Ball not going anywhere. He's going to be pinged for holding the ball. There's another free kick, Corbin. 18. Been a bit rough. Much prior opportunity, I didn't think, but Swallow's got it. He'll thump it to the top of the goal square almost. Coming out on the lead was Casbolt. Got his hands to it. Couldn't take it on the second attempt. Good tackling by the Suns forwards. Morrison in there, gets squeezed out. Comes to Jeffrey, was clever to Ainsworth. He gets a little kick around the corner. And just rushed through by Howe for Hawthorn for a behind to the Suns. 6-5-41. Hawks stuck on 1-3-9. Their only goal coming at the 17-minute mark of the first quarter. They're not ordinarily as a touchdown in the opening quarter up first half team. They've only led it a half time on 3 occasions this year. The Suns now 11 games in. They've got the break here big time on the Hawks and a 32-point buffer. As Scrimshaw with the kick out to Bramble. He's going to hand it back to Scrimshaw, the former Gold Coast Sun himself. Chips it along the boundary line to McDonald. Plays on to Bramble. Slick movement from the Hawks up to halfway. Passes with the hands of Howe and then Newcomb back to Bramble. His third go in the chain. Kicks it deep forward. They come from all directions. Trying to claim the mark is Graham and he's going to be paid it. I'm not sure he had the first touch on that, but the Suns able to chop it off in the defensive arc as Graham swings his kick out to Alice, who marks it right half back for the Suns. Also some hands resting in the back as well, I thought, but maybe not a nudge. Well done by Jeffrey. He's going to be paid the mark. Running back for the flight under some heavy pressure from Jaff. And so Joel Jeffrey, local player, Wanderers player. You played on him a bit, Raph. Tell us a bit of a story about how you cope with someone like Joel Jeffrey and his athleticism.
Yeah, someone like him was a bit too fast for me because I was coming towards the end of my career up here, and I'd try and stand in front of him, cut his ankles off as much as I could. So we definitely planned for him because he was a star on the way through a couple of years ago.
Ball's kicked out of bounds on the full by Hawthorn. Tuke Miller will take the kick. Someone in the crowd trying to juggle the can in one hand, now decides he needs both hands to get it back into the field of play. And so Miller right in front of the Hawthorn interchange bench. Wants some movement up forward. He's got Ellis and he hits him on the chest. Beautiful pass by Tuke Miller. So steady build up this time. Busy Suns forward line with that delay in play. They've all dropped back. So Ellis will just drop it long. He's got some marking power there. Wits, Casbolt over the top. The spoil came from Koschitzki. Miller's worked his way with a quick snap. That would have been a wonderful goal, having worked his way from the wing to the hot spot at the drop of the footy, 40 out from goal. But his kick away to the right-hand side for behind only. 6-42 the Suns. Hawks 1-3-9.
And he found some space when there were 36 players almost inside 50 there. It would have been a terrific effort on his left foot, Miller, to put that through, but not to be.
Scrimshaw with the kick-out duties on the top 10 pick in the national draft. He goes wide out to Dylan Moore. Leaps up, no mark. Weller with the spoil, down to the lap of Alice. Hands it to Anderson, and Moore followed up with the chase-down tackle. Hawks win possession. Shields moves it quickly to his premiership teammate in Bruce. One-on-one with Markov. Bruce got it out to Wingard. Shoots a hand pass back to Morrison. Morrison has lost it. The Suns win it back as Anderson away to Markov, to Alice by hand, now to Weller. The Suns with plenty of numbers, now to Powell. He kicks inside 50. Joel trying to pick it up on the half volley, unsuccessful. Scrimshaw there under pressure at half back for the Hawks. Rides a bump from Davies. Chankwath Jaff collects. Hand pass over his shoulder to Day, to Shields. Drops the greasy footy. There's a free kick for a high tackle. It's going Hawthorn's way, and the three-time premiership Hawk Liam Shields to take it.
And he kicks beautifully to Morrison. He kicks it into the middle and finds Newcomb. Handballs back to Shields. They'd love a goal, Hawthorn. They certainly need one. Inside attacking 50. Numbers there with the Suns. Collins slid across the front of the pack, couldn't take the mark. Graham lays a strong tackle. Moore with a quick snap. This could be their second. It is much needed at the 12-minute mark of the second quarter. It's almost been a full quarter of footy since their first. 17-minute mark of the first term. They're up to 2-3-15, and the margin comes back to 27 points the Suns' way on 6-6-42.
Yeah, they're quite lucky they got it down that end so quick like it did, because they were struggling to see how they were going to score. Hawthorn, the Tallers haven't really had an impact down there, and they've kicked a scrappy goal like their first one. So
it was a bit scrappy, wasn't it, Raf? But it was also Liam Shields who got the ball through there, actually got on the burst and got it in there quickly, because the Suns couldn't get back and outnumber them. So they've scrapped and they've scratched, and they've got their second goal.
Yeah, it's looked like, and that's the way it's going to have to be for them at the moment if they don't find another avenue. So it's going to be a long night if they don't find a marking target or a key marker.
Dogs out by 30 points in Perth, so 17 minutes into the second quarter there against the Eagles. 27, the Suns lead here, back in the middle, no clean possession. Ballard off the square, just sockers it 50 metres to centre half forward. Thumped away at the back by the Hawks. Into the path here of Nash. He's tackled without it. Free kick Hawthorn. Advantage applied. Shields hand pass to Morrison. Tumbles a kick through centre half forward. Leaping up Bruce. He's tackled, dispossessed. Moore sockers it inside 50. Wingard got rid of his direct opponent, but at the back, Collins. And a free's going to come back to Will Powell at centre half back. Jeez, developed into a fine player, Will Powell. Did the footy the last couple of years, Ralph, with one of your former teammates, Brendan Goddard, and he used to always tell a story how he played on Will Powell in his first year. And BJ loves to claim guys nice and early, and he said, look, this guy's going to be a star. He said, I played on him one day and I just couldn't shake him. He was always in front of me the whole day, just found him a real pesky sort of opponent. And there was a first-year player at that stage as Butterick on the wing tries to kick it inside 50, and Jaff takes the intercept mark.
Yeah, I definitely remember that one, and he has become a fine player. He has set up really well tonight. He's controlling that back line nicely.
Morrison for Hawthorn from left half back, kicks high up towards half forward. Ballard in from the side. Moore's getting busy. Wants a teammate to handball to. Finally picks out Newcomb, but he's slipped over. Moore will have to butter up off the ground again, this time by Casbolt. Looks for Roses. Roses lays a tackle and still pressuring. Excellent work. It's somehow farmed out. The umpire's letting it go. He's going to call a holding the ball decision. It's going to go the Suns' way. And it's Ainsworth. Good pressure by the Suns. 55 metres out from goal. He just sets it up. Jeffrey can stand on heads. He didn't quite get the run up he wanted. Comes to Casbolt. Hooks the ball around. Chol at the top of the goal square was too big and strong for Jaff. And he marks directly in front, 15 metres out.
Gold Coast Tallers again having an impact. Casbolt getting it on by himself, snapping it over, and Charles standing in the goal square by himself as well.
And even Joel Jeffrey there made the initial contest. It fell over the back and Casbolt picked it up, snaps it to the top of the square. It's handy to have a third tall, and I guess that's what Joel Jeffrey's playing tonight for the Suns.
Joel for his third and a 33-point lead from directly in front, 15 metres out. He gets his third. It's all Gold Coast. They're home away from home here at Marara, and after 16 minutes, the Hawks have got a lot of work to do.
We are starting to see a lot of kicks off the ground. Some of them are going 40 and 50 metres, but maybe that's a sign that the ball has got a little bit slippery and it's it's a thought that maybe it's come from the coaching box to get the ball forward at any cost. Just get it going our way, and it's going to be a scrap for the rest of the night. And I guess the Suns already having 7 on the board, they're at the advantage now, that's for sure.
Just to tie a bow on my Brendan Goddard story, I was trying to emphasise the fact that he had praise for anyone. As you would know, Raph, PJ doesn't hand out too many compliments, does he? So
normally about himself.
Yes, I was about to say. So if you get one from Beach where he's actually giving someone a lot of credit, it comes with a fair bit of weight. 3 for Joel now. The Suns 7-6, Hawthorn 2-3, midway through this second quarter. Charlie King's with us on the boundary. Charlie.
Yeah, more bad news for Hawthorn. They don't know this, but the Suns are kicking to what is traditionally the scoring end here at Marara.
2 in the quarter now for Joel. The Suns going forward again. Whips down to Rowell. Kicks to centre half forward. Casbolt throws his body at it. Spills front and centre to Rankin. Rankin snapping. He bends it back, but not enough. Gee, it looked good off the boot. Behind for Rankin. Suns are in rhythm. They're 7-7. Hawthorn are 2-3. We're 17 minutes into the second quarter. That SMS number, if you want to get involved throughout the night, 0437 774 774. Let us know where you're listening, what you're up to tonight. We're very lucky to be up in the top end.
It's curling like one of those elite 10-pin bowlers, wasn't it? That kick from Rankin.
Another free kick.
Down Crossy in your time?
I just can only do the straight one. Haven't been able to work out how to do the curl.
On the full.
Into the gutter. Granger Barras down the outer side wing. Stretch from Nash. Almost pulled it in. He's hassled and harassed at ground level. And away go the Suns again. Handball comes out looking for Mitchell. Looking strong at the contest. Buffets off some hands and now it comes in the Jeffrey direction. Towards the left, towards the right forward pocket. He shimmies and shakes and kicks it cleverly into the path of Ainsworth. It might go all the way. Joel Jeffries kicked a miracle goal. Wow. There was nothing on there. He threw it on the boot just to get it towards the square. Had a teammate running back with the flight. He was not needed. It bounced through and Jeffrey gets his first goal on his home ground. And the Suns scorch away. 8-7-55 to the Hawks. 2-3-15. It's a 40-point lead. 18 minutes gone, second quarter.
Very nice, Joel. Very nice. That's used to seeing that from Joel up here a couple of years ago, and he bit of like the old Wanderers days. He just picked it up and took them all on, and a bit of footwork and chucked it over his shoulder, and just like he knew where the goals are, and that's that bit of probably not local knowledge.
Amazing.
6 cents.
Amazing.
That's goal of the year contender, isn't it? Joel?
You know, he's done it without actually looking at the goals, and he's done it from the St Mary's pocket, where he would have done it 100 times before. So I'm sure there's a few people on the hill who saw that and they'll say, I was there the day Joel Jeffrey kicked that goal.
40 points, a new game high the Suns' way. Mitchell, the cheap possession getter on the ground, now up to 15. Kicks to centre half forward. Bruce up to meet it, can't take it clean. Miller had it, lost it, and Weller decides just to hack it forward off the deck. It bounces out of play. The umpire says deliver it. Free kick, Hawthorn. Just in front of the Hawthorn bench beneath us. And Denver Granger Barras, one of the best names in the AFL. It's a DGB, I think he's rolling with the acronym. He's a former high draft pick as well out of the Hills District in WA. As he goes short to Morrison, long kick to half forward. Brost can't take it clean. Butterick superb. Grabs it off the deck, hand pass to Weller. He gives it to Swallow, lost it. Nash at half forward. There's a free, there's a hold. It's going the Suns' way. The tackle lingered against Will Day. And Swallow's going to get it on the back flank. Suns by 40 points as we tick into time on second term.
Anderson, in front of the grandstand, thumps it long. Casbolt sets himself, had a couple to beat, and was being held off the footy. In fact, it's Witts who was being held off the footy in that contest. And so the Gold Coast Suns captain has got Tuke Miller running for him. He marks and wheels, plays on quickly. Beautiful pass by Miller. He had 3 Hawks around that, and I thought the kick was going to be intercepted, but it carried straight onto the chest of Casbolt, who was just standing almost stationary at centre half forward, but Miller knew exactly what he was doing, and Big Levi can line up for his first goal of the night. Yep. And the Suns are creaming the Hawks at the moment.
I think that was one of those ones, Joel, like Miller, you put your hand up and you acknowledge that you're Deliberately kicked it there.
Well, he certainly kicked it across his body. I'm not sure he was aiming to kick it to Levi Casbolt, who's gone back and finished.
And Levi, who's sometimes a little nervy from directly in front around 30 metres from goal, made no mistake. And the Suns get their ninth, 9-7-61, a 46-point lead over the Hawks. 21 minutes gone in the second quarter. Grandstand AFL.
And it might just be that they were 6 goals up because everyone had sifted into that forward pocket, half-forward area as Miller got the ball. And he took it on, right? Sometimes we see in the AFL now where the best kick into the forward line is long down to the behind post. So if it doesn't come off, you can set up and you can fight again. Well, he took it on. He pulled it across his body. I don't know if he was actually aiming for Levi Casbolt with that kick, but he hit it hard enough. He carried 2 or 3 Hawks blokes, hits Casbolt on the chest. He goes back, kicks a goal, 9 goals, 7.
Normally you'd have a tall forward leading into that spot. So, yeah, he probably was hoping for that tall forward to be coming up, and Casbolt happened to be standing there. So
the Suns hold the unwanted record of the 2 lowest scores ever on this ground at an AFL game, 27 and 34. Well, they've kicked 61, those 2 numbers inside the first half here. We're less than 21 minutes into the second quarter as the Suns pump it back inside 50. Sicily took on 1, 2 and 2 too many. He's been pinged for holding the ball. And Nick Holman's going to get the free kick, and another shot at goal for the Suns coming up.
Well, it's starting to look ominous.
Maybe that little break at quarter time in the aircon is working. Gold Coast are coming out and have a bit more run in their legs.
Nick Holman from dead in front. He kicks to the right and behind. 9-8 to 2-3. Should have done better from there.
It's still a very still night out there. You see those flags across the ground. They still haven't moved at all.
23 minutes into the second term. 6-day break coming from Tassie for the Hawks, but they're flat-footed at the moment, Crossy, down by 47.
Scrimshaw brings the ball back into play. Pumps it in the Koschitzky direction. Witts, Newcomb at ground level. Had a couple of goes at it. Comes back to Koschitzky. Great tackling by Miller. Spills to Ellis. His high kick comes towards half forward. Rankin caught behind. In front was Scrimshaw. Can't shrug the Rankin tackle. Comes to Holman, who's been busy. Jaff tackles him. Socket off the ground by Ellis on the volley. Over the top, a good spoil from Nash. Koschitzky comes hard, but coming the other way and meeting there was Graham. Only as far as Mitchell. Sweeps the handball there to Howe. And Daniel Howe kicked down the line to Lewis, who has to find a kick on the wing. You want him inside 50, not that far up the ground. Running across his boot, good pressure there came from Butterick. Forced the turnover, and Collins has it, and he gives it off to Weller at half-back.
So Weller in front of the main grandstand, long kick to Casbolt and a 2-on-1. Sicily out the back, takes a chest mark and immediately moves it on the 45 to Mitchell. 47 points, the lead for the Gold Coast as we close in on half-time. 24 travelled second term. Mitchell hands it to Sicily. Sicily short kick to Morrison. Still in the defensive half. Pokes his kick over halfway and Impey runs onto it for Hawthorn. A rare inside 50. Chips to centre half forward. Shields can't mark. Knocks it down to Butler. Jams it on the boot and a goal. And the Hawks get one back completely against the trend. Sam Butler with his first of the night. Hawthorn at the 25-minute mark of the second term moved to 3-3-21. The Suns are 9-8-62. Lead back to 41 Gold Coast way.
Not a bad build-up there, though. I mean, the mark didn't come off from the inside 50 kick, but a good build-up. The Hawthorn players ran it through, and Butler crumbed that ball perfectly. I mean, he's obviously learned a couple of things from his older brother, as younger brothers do. But here we have Hawthorn getting their third goal.
Yeah, it looked like they were stuck on the half-back here, wondering where that next kick was going to go to, and they found their way up the middle and, like you said, got it in forward, made a good contest, and nice crumb by Butler and nice finish.
So still time in this second quarter to kick one or two more and just close this gap a little bit. At the moment it's all the Gold Coast, but a couple of goals. They get it back to around 5 at half-time. Witts won the tap. Miller hooks the kick around up towards half forward. Ainsworth had to wait under it. Scrimshaw has been very well tackled by Holman. That defensive forward is working well, but this time Scrimshaw had no prior opportunity, and there'll be a ball up inside the centre square. Hawks just defensive side. Witts wrestling against Howe. Witts far too big and strong, won the tap. Shield comes up with it, gave it to Nash.
Nash's kick running back the flight was Bramble. Dropped the chest mark in the end. Ellis, but his handball is turned over. Came back to Shields. Now to Witts, though. To Weller of the Gold Coast. He's got Ellis. He's about to be tackled by Mitchell. This is better intensity by Hawthorn. Overrunning it was Shields. Well done by Rao not to give the free kick away as he came in over the top and held the footy in. Ellis another possession. He hooks over his shoulder, Joel Jeffrey-like, and kicks it out of bounds on the full. So here's a chance for Hawthorn to reload. Centre wing, grandstand side of Marara. Rankin comes at Hardwick. He just thumps it long. In front, good mark by Lewis. He's 55 out. He switches play right across towards centre half forward, and Will Day takes the mark, but he's 60 out. Inside the centre square. Goes short in towards the pockets and has got a team out on the lead. And it's Kashitsky. So Jacob Kashitsky will shoot for goal from 50 metres out, 45-degree angle. And the Hawks could string 2 goals together for the first time tonight.
It was a very good kick by Day across the field there. You know, a 45-50 metre bullet that opened up the whole 50, which allows Kaczynski to get on this other fat side of the field. In the end, I think he just took an uncontested mark because he'd beaten his opponent.
Missed a set shot in the first quarter. It's not an easy one. He's got the distance. Has he got the accuracy? The crowd tells you he has. Goal umpire didn't move, and Kaczynski brings the Hawks back. First time tonight, they've got 2 goals in a row, and the margin is close to 35 points. 27 minutes gone, second quarter. Hawthorn 4-3, Gold Coast 9-8.
Yeah, like you said, Joel, that 45 kick across the ground opened up the whole forward 50 and gave pretty much an uncontested lead up at the footy for Kaczynski and finished off nicely.
Ruth Clark alongside Joel Bowden, Corbin Middlemass and Rob Cross calling the footy here at Marara 28 minutes into the second term. Suns by 35. Charlie King's on the boundary. Charlie.
Yeah, just the Hawthorn supporters just given something to cheer about. We've heard their voice all of a sudden starting to make a bit of noise here. They're sensing that they're going to come back hard.
Do you think there's more Hawks fans than Suns fans in the house, Charlie?
Oh, probably not. More Suns, I think.
Yep. Yeah, new home away from home, as we've touched on, a couple of home games each year in this part of the world, obviously impacted by the pandemic recently, but back-to-back weeks. They play North next Saturday at the same venue. Back in the middle, a centre break again for the Suns, the theme of the night, as Miller kicks to centre half forward. Newcomb skids in. He ushers it out to McDonald. Hand pass put empty under the pump and picked his pocket. Rankin then spins, shakes one would-be tackler. Hand pass to Miller, puts the Suns deep inside 50. Sicily up to meet it for the Hawks. Hand pass away to Scrimshaw. Just dumps a kick out of defensive 50. Butterick with courage. Back into the traffic. Bruce coming the other way, and young Connor Butterick takes a superb mark. What a player he's going to be. Another one out of the Suns Academy. He goes short to Miller. Great bravery. He's been good tonight. Miller, 80 from goal. Pumps it. Casbolt, Chol goes to ground. Hawthorn defence working to keep it away from those 2 big fellas. As the whistle's blown, and it's going to be a free kick to Hawthorn. Butterick's old man played SANFL footy. His dad, Craig, he was also on Sydney's list as a rookie for a short period of time. So he grew up on the Gold Coast. I think he moved there about the age of 9 or 10. But from South Australia previously. Grew up in Robe. Hardwick finds Sicily. Kicks towards the wing. Witts from behind. Big spoil. Powell's kick was smothered by Wingard. Is Butterick again. Played for the free kick without possession of the footy. Lovely handball on top. Opens up for the Suns. Comes to Swallow. He kicks in the Casbolt direction. 1 grab 2. He got rid of Sicily but couldn't complete the mark. His sheer bulk was too much for the Hawthorn defender. Bramble on the bounce. The handball to McDonald, who did very well to stand up in the tackle. Get it back to Scrimshaw. Back to Hardwick. His high kick towards the wing, and there's Butterick waiting under it again. And he marks in front of Howe. 70 metres out.
Needs to look inside.
So he just bombs it in the Chol direction. Chol goes up. He's 4 deep. Got hands to it. Couldn't bring it to ground. Quick snap from Ellis is brilliant. And the Suns get a goal out of nothing. And the Hawks cannot believe it. They just started to turn the cogs a little bit on this game, and Ellis bobs up with the Suns' 10th goal. 10-8-68. Hawthorn 4-3-27. It's back to a 41-point margin. 30 minutes gone, second quarter.
And it was up and down that line from the back pocket out to the half-back flank, then back in. back and forward. They could have gone inside. I think they had Graham free, but somehow they've manufactured a goal out of nothing, out of just fighting, scrapping, and Ellis dribbles one through.
And Butterick again had an impact in that play after that contested mark. He took a couple of minutes earlier, that brave mark, and then he butted it up again and read it well. Gets it back inside 50, and yeah, like you said, they scrapped and kick a nice goal.
I wouldn't have thought coming here tonight we would have been seeing sort of scoring records, but this is the Gold Coast Suns' highest halftime score all year, which, yeah, as I said, you probably wouldn't have thought given the conditions, but already on 68 points. The music's still playing, but the footy's back underway in the middle of the ground. No clean break out of the centre. Newcomb puts his head over it, and in the end, umpire Roseberry says, I'll have it. The ball up. Beautiful night, temperature in the high 20s. We're a little warm for a few players from the southern part, but we're seeing a high-quality game of footy nevertheless, and particularly from the Suns, who have put some space on the scoreboard in the first half. A 41-point lead as the bell goes to end the first half. And the Gold Coast Suns 10-8-68, Hawthorn 4-3-27. And at half-time, a 41-point lead for the Gold Coast. There was just the one lead change that happened in the first 6 minutes when Ainsworth kicked the first goal after an early behind for the Hawks. And it's been all the Suns from that point on. 10 goals to 4, a 41-point lead for the Suns. The goal kickers, we got 3 for Mabior Child, and then singles down the page. Ellis, Ainsworth, Anderson, Rankin, Casbolt, Jeffrey and Roses, the two 20-year-olds from Darwin, both with a goal each in that first half, while for Hawthorn, 1 each for Moore, Bruce, Kajitsky and Butler. Just the 4th time all year the Suns have led at half-time. The previous 3 they went on to win. And it's a 41-point advantage over the Hawks, who get into a little bit of a trot as they start to make their way down the race. Now, the other game that's been played tonight over in Perth between the Eagles and the Bulldogs, it's half-time there as well. And the Bulldogs, who led by 21 at quarter-time, they now lead by 32 at half-time over the West Coast Eagles. Earlier today, it was Fremantle by 38 points over the Narm Demons. The thoughts of our analysts are coming up in just a moment. Joel Bowden and Raf Clark with us. Following that, we'll get the latest from the ABC newsroom. Winners much earlier, Geelong by 42 over Adelaide and Brisbane by 14 over the Giants. What do we witness in that first half of footy, Joel Bowden and Raf Clark?
Yeah, well, I think the Gold Coast, like we said, the quickest to settle and get used to the conditions. But they've set up really well across their half-back line. They've read it really well. They've intercepted a lot of marks. They've worked together really well coming out of there as well. Their tall forwards have had an impact. They've all kicked the goal. And, yeah, having that third tall is dangerous as well, like young Joel. And he can do a bit of the smaller, freaky stuff as well, like a small forward. So it's caused a few headaches for the Hawthorn defence, I reckon.
Certainly has. Just looking at Witts and his ruck work, because he's so dominant, he seems to be tapping the ball, especially in that second quarter, this side. So the ball's been coming towards us on the grandstand side because I think they've got right footers who are coming out of that pack. And the centre clearances, I don't know what the numbers are, but it seemed to be dominated by the Gold Coasters. And then they've subsequently from there had repeat inside 50 after inside 50 and inside 50. And we just saw there, like it must have been in the last 30 seconds where they manufactured that goal. But it's been on the back of the hard work and the dominance from Witts. I think Miller, Ellis and others have been really, really strong in the midfield, along with their backline who've been mopping it up. But when you've got the ball inside 50 repeatedly and you're making the opposition defend, eventually you're going to get that goal. And to kick 10 goals 8 in the first half here, I think is an exceptional effort, and it'll go a long way to winning him the game.
Disposal efficiency actually quite high. So the Hawks are actually going at 79% and the Gold Coast at 72%, which feels like, given the greasy conditions, the guys don't play in this part of the world all that much. That seems like a high number. And the Hawks have been very good by feet out of the back line and through half-back. And even we saw those 2 goals that they got in that second quarter where they ran the ball well and they used it 3 and 4 times. I think Shields was running hard through the middle. Butler crumbs a ball after, he's worked it through. There's not a great deal of issue, I don't think, Raf, with the efficiency by foot. That's going well. But it's this repeat
entry, this pressure that then builds, and you end up with Levi Kaspel getting an uncontested mark when Took Miller centres the ball in quite a speculative kick that we wouldn't see too often, and then we see Brandon Ellis kick a goal where it's just pressure after pressure after pressure. So I think they're doing well. They're dominating across their half-back flank, which is where you want to dominate, because then they get that slingshot and then they get to rebound and get it back quickly.
Yeah, definitely, and that repeat entries puts any don't matter how good your back line is, Joel. It's going to have an impact at some stage, and that's what we're seeing. And so you're getting all the smalls and talls for Gold Coast kicking goals. So I think what have they had, 7 or 8 different goal kickers. It's not like Hawthorn had to stop one bloke in particular, but they've got a handful of blokes that they've caused trouble.
Just some of those numbers to back up what you're saying. So the inside 50 count, 34-16.
Dominant.
Suns favour. So twice as many inside 50s, twice as many centre bounce clearances, 10-5. The hit-out's 19-4, which the number one hit-out ruckman in the competition leading in, and he's obviously playing really against no recognised ruckman for the Hawks. And the contested possession numbers, which you praised, Joel, so 70 to 51 lopsided in the Suns' favour.
Yeah, they're doing very well in and around the contest. And again, right, they've got some experienced guys. I was having a look at it earlier today. You know, they've got a number of guys who have played 140, 150 games. Brent Nelson played 200 games. They're actually not that young in their development now, where they've got that experience. They've got a hardened body. And then conversely, Hawthorn are a bit younger. You know, Hawthorn haven't got the big bodies, and especially with Jaden O'Meara not here, that's one elite A-grade midfielder that they're not having to go up against. So it seems to me, and it looks like it on the scoreboard definitely, that Gold Coast have got this game where they want it. I'm sure Stewie Dew would be happy with the scoreboard. There'll be areas for improvement that he's going to find at half-time, no doubt. He's a coach. They've all got issues. But geez, I'd be pretty happy with 10 goals 8 to 4 goals 3 at half-time, TIO Stadium in Darwin.
I mentioned the Sorry, Ruff.
No, definitely, and then especially with, like Charlie mentioned earlier, like with a bit of local knowledge, Gold Coast kicking to the goal kicking end that quarter, so they'll have it in the last quarter. And if we do get a bit of late breeze, as you do in the evenings here in Darwin, it normally favours that end. So, Gold Coast, everything looking pretty good for them.
I mentioned the SMS 0437 774 774. Shout out to Rick in Margaret River and also to Cameron in Maribyrnong as well, who have both messaged through to tell us they're listening. If you are as well, let us know what you're up to tonight. And maybe you might be here taking in the game, the Gold Coast and Hawthorn up at Marara. It's a joy to be in this part of the world. Charlie King is with us on the boundary. Charlie, what did you make of that first half?
Yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. What a treat to be here and watch footy and seeing these two territory players, Joel Jeffrey and Melly Roses, in action. They've kicked a goal each and looked pretty good about plying their trade here in front of a crowd that'd be very supportive of them, and family here, as Joel mentioned a short time ago. Russell Jeffrey, very proud of his son. But I was just thinking that the class of Luke Bruce, it just caught my attention. 248 games. He kicked his 460th goal tonight. He's a class act, isn't he? He's a top footballer. Chad Wingard today really hasn't had the influence for Hawthorn that they need. But, they're finding it hard against a side that's just got plenty of run, especially their back six. They come out of defence, the Suns, they spread the ball, they hit targets just about all the time, and they look a class act. I like what I'm seeing tonight, I must say.
Two premiership teammates up against one another in the coach's box tonight. So Stewie Dew obviously for the Suns and Sam Mitchell for the Hawks. And Sam with a bit of work to do. His team down by 41 at the half. We'll bring you up to date with what's happening in some other sports around the place. There's a grand final tonight in another code, as well as today's earlier games in the AFL. And I want to have a chat to Raph Clark and also Joel Bowden about the prospect of possibly a 20th team being based in this part of the world up in the top end. We may need Joel just to put on his MP's hat as well, and we'll fire a couple of questions at him in just a moment. Second half action around the corner. Before all of that, though, let's see what's happening in the ABC newsroom. At half-time, the Suns by 41.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. The Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has offered his condolences to the family of an Australian man killed in Ukraine. Relatives of 47-year-old Michael O'Neill say he was killed while providing humanitarian aid in Ukraine's war effort against Russia. The Department of Foreign Affairs and Trades confirmed it's assisting the family of a man who was killed in Ukraine. Mr Albanese says the man's family has requested privacy.
This is a tragedy, and I want to give my condolences to the family of the person involved. The Australian authorities, through the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, are providing consular support.
Meanwhile, Russian forces appear to be tightening their grip on Ukraine's Luhansk region as heavy fighting continues. Here's Larry Buttrose.
A Ukrainian official says its forces may have to retreat from their last pocket in the region to avoid being captured as Russian troops press their advance in the east. The Russian focus in the region has shifted the momentum in the 3-month-old war. President Volodymyr Zelensky says troops are defending its territory as much as resources allow and vows the Donbass region will remain Ukrainian. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian military claims it's destroyed numbers of Russian tanks and other armoured vehicles in the latest fighting.
Russia says it successfully test-fired a new hypersonic missile. The Defence Ministry says the Zircon cruise missile flew around 1,000 kilometres from the Barents Sea and struck a target in the White Sea. Russian video shows the missile being fired from a ship and blazing into the sky on a steep trajectory. There are some reports that Democrat and Republican politicians are working on gun control measures following the latest school massacre in the United States, despite calls at the National Rifle Association convention for more rather than fewer guns in the community. Here's the BBC's David Willis.
A small group of Democrat and Republican senators are trying to reach a compromise in some way over new gun laws here, and they're planning to spend Monday's Memorial Day recess thrashing out a number of different options, including so-called federal red flag laws that would enable officials here to confiscate firearms from those that are deemed potentially dangerous or mentally unstable. But not even the most optimistic Democrats are holding their breath.
The Greens say the federal election outcome shows the Australian public wants stronger action on climate change. The ABC is projecting the Greens have defeated the Liberal National Party's Trevor Evans to win the seat of Brisbane. The Greens have also secured the seats of Griffith and Ryan in Queensland and have retained the seat of Melbourne, taking their numbers to the lower house to 4. Green Senator Sarah Hanson-Young says it's a triumph for the party.
It has definitely been a vote for change in Queensland and indeed across the rest of the country. This has been the climate election, and people right across the country have had their voice heard, and they want the Parliament to respond.
The National Party's leadership has become a three-cornered contest, with Deputy Leader David Littleproud confirming his candidacy. The former Agriculture Minister and member for the safe Queensland seat of Maranoa says he advised Leader Barnaby Joyce today of his intention to stand at the party meeting on Monday. He joins former Veterans Affairs Minister Darren Chester, who's already confirmed he'll also put his hand up for the Nationals' top job. Indonesian rescue teams are searching for 26 people missing after a boat capsized off the major island of Sulawesi. The search and rescue agency says 43 people were on board when the incident happened. Local media say the boat had left Makassar in the capital South Sulawesi province and was reported missing after failing to reach its destination. Survivors have been plucked from the water, but many people remain missing. One of the world's most respected virology laboratories has found 2 new strains of COVID-19 are more infectious and potentially more lethal than their predecessors. The Japanese lab that sounded the alarm earlier this year about the BA2 Omicron variant was more severe than its predecessors also issued the same warnings for 2 new subvariants that first were detected in South Africa. They're believed responsible for a big spike in COVID case numbers recently. Portugal has reported that one of the latest strains is responsible for more than a third of all the new cases there. And another person's died from COVID-19 in the ACT. A man in his 90s as the territory recorded 822 infections. There are 77 people in hospital with the virus, down from 83 yesterday. You're up to date with the very latest from ABC News.
Oh, look. Another flashy gimmick from the Gruen team. A Will Anderson action figure, a D-doll for D-Madigan, and a tiny Todd Sampson.
Collect us all.
And they'll sing your favourite advertising jingles.
No, we won't. But we will deconstruct the way that brands are trying to sell to you.
The new and improved Gruen.
Now let me out of here.
Starts Wednesday, June 8th on ABC TV or log in to stream on ABC iView.
This is Sir Doug Nicholls Round
Grandstand AFL
on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Holman does well at half forward, gives it to Anderson off the side of the boot. Clever, deliberate kick. Tapped beautifully by Rankin to Chol. He shouldn't miss, and he has. And a push has been paid, so he'll get a free kick and a second opportunity. And he squeezes it through. He made the goal up by work, but it is his second. Now Ainsworth over it. Rides a bump from Jap. Spills to Witts. He's well tackled, taken to ground. He's in strike, Witts. Says play on. Rao grabs it, snaps a kick inside 50. Rankin spills the mark, follows up. There's a few free Suns forward. One of them is Anderson, who skids in to take the mark on his knees. Noah Anderson, he's a beautiful right foot kick. He is a goal kicker. They love a goal, Hawthorn. They certainly need one. Inside attacking 50. Numbers there with the Suns. Collins slid across the front of the pack, couldn't take the mark. Graham lays a strong tackle. More with a quick snap. This could be their second. It is. Jeffrey can stand on heads. He didn't quite get the run up he wanted. Comes to Casbolt. Hooks the ball around. Scholl at the top of the goal square was too big and strong for Jaff, and he marks directly in front, 15 metres out. Scholl for his third and a 33-point lead. From directly in front, 15 metres out, he gets his third. Buffett's off some hands, and now it comes in the Jeffrey direction towards the right forward pocket. He shimmies and shakes and kicks it cleverly into the path of Ainsworth. It might go all the way. Joel Jeffrey's kicked a miracle goal. So the Gold Coast Suns captain has got Tuke Miller running for him. He marks and wheels, plays on quickly. Beautiful pass by Miller, but carried straight onto the chest of Casbolt. Levi, who's sometimes a little nervy from directly in front, around 30 metres from goal, made no mistake. Impey runs onto it for Hawthorn. A rare inside 50. Chips to centre half forward. Shields can't mark. Knocks it down to Butler. Jams it on the boot and a goal. Scholl goes up. He's 4 deep. Got hands to it. Couldn't bring it to ground. Quick snap from Ellis is brilliant. And the Suns get a goal out of nothing, and the Hawks cannot believe it.
The Sir Doug Nicholls Round
on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
We're up in the top end as Sir Doug Nicholls Round continues. Saturday night footy between the Suns and the Hawks. The first game for premiership points in this part of the world since 2020. The last time we had a game here was the Dreamtime fixture between Essendon and Richmond. Tonight the Suns are doing a job on the Hawks. 10 goals to 4 at halftime. The Gold Coast by 41 points. Corbin Middlemass, Rob Cross, Raf Clark, Joel Bowden and Charlie King, our commentary team. And look who I've bumped into up here. A familiar voice on Grandstand AFL. He's the best newsbroker in footy. Mitch Cleary. G'day, Massai.
Good evening, Corbin. What a night it is at this wonderful stadium.
You broke a story during the week that efforts had been ramped up about the Northern Territories bid for potentially a 20th licence. What can you tell us about that?
Essentially, they're readying themselves to get into a position where if Tasmania is granted a licence later this year, that they want to be ready to hit go on their bid. So it's still a little while off. They have engaged PricewaterhouseCoopers to just begin a 3-month business case as to the viability of the team, encapsulating all things including climate, proximity to Asia. I think that's going to be a big part of their pitch, in that Darwin is going to be a prosperous area in coming years, given its proximity to Asia. The impact of Alice Springs, what that could play. So there's all sorts of things, but I think we're going to learn more over the next 3 months. We got Joel Bowden with us tonight, who's also an MP as well, so we'll fire a couple of questions at Joel in just a moment. Cyril Rioli, there was a lot of talk obviously leading into the night. Legend of the Hawthorn Footy Club, 3-time premiership player, now residing in Darwin. There was a report, obviously, by Caroline Wilson recently where he talked about the fact he wouldn't return to the Hawthorn Footy Club as long as Jeff is the president. Is he here tonight? He's not here at this stage. There's been a few search parties go out for him, a few people checking to see if he was in the ground. He did have a ticket to attend, hasn't decided at this stage to attend and take up that offer. His mother, though, was at the Gold Coast pre-game function, so there is a Rioli. I'm sure there's plenty of Rioli flavour here tonight, but his mum did accept the Gold Coast's offer to go to their function. Obviously, Mark Evans, the CEO of the Gold Coast Suns, footy manager through Cyril's time at the Hawks. Speaking of Mark Evans, you had a chat to him earlier? He's going to have a big future, a big part to say in the future of Stuart Dew later this year. Essentially what I took from the conversation with Mark Evans, they're not in a position to start contract talks with Stuart Dew just yet, but They want to just see how the second half of the year starts to unfold, given they've only averaged 2.5 wins in the second half of the year over the last 7 or 8 seasons, Corbin. So it's going to have a big part to say in Stuart Dew's future. Tonight, if they can hold on for the win, that'll go a long way to starting that momentum to get him a new deal.
Are you the Suns' #1 ticket holder?
Up there. I do have a membership still.
Yeah, I thought you did. Absolutely. Mitch, thanks for dropping by.
Thanks for having me.
Mitch Cleary with us, the best newsbreaker in footy. You can hear him on ABC Radio throughout the year. He's up here working for the 7 Network tonight. My name's Corbin Middlemass. Rob Cross calling the footy with me. Joel Bowden's not too far away. Ralph Clark's here, though, former St Kilda player, top 10 draft pick. Ralph, we're just talking about the prospect of a 20th licence. If Tassie are granted theirs, are the Northern Territory ready to go, do you think, for a team in the big league?
Yeah, I'd like to say yes, but it's a hard one. I don't think the place is probably quite set up in terms of, you know, the weather and the full-time footy for an AFL team. It'd be probably just a little bit too hard at the moment. The 1 or 2 games a year is, as you can see, draws good crowds, but I don't think we're maybe right as good as Tassie for that 20th or 21st side. But yeah, Joel would probably have a better intake on that than me with his background in the politics at the moment and a bit more knowledge.
Is it going to happen, Joel?
Well, let's hope it happens one day. Let's hope that the national competition does go to all areas, including Tasmania and the north. It can only be good for the community, and you can see here tonight the people are here and they love their footy, and more footy means more fun for more people.
We'll chat about it a bit more in the post-game. This is Grandstand AFL. The Suns by 41 into the second half we go with Rob Cross.
Well, what have the Hawks got? They've proven themselves to be a pretty good comeback team at times this season. They've got to come back from 41 points down, and the first free kick of the third quarter, or the second half, is not going their way. It's going to Nick Holman. 27 tomorrow. Nick Holman had a shot for goal in the second quarter, which he missed. He pumps it inside, attacking 50 to Michael Long centre end. Stretching was Day, and got it at the second attempt. Plays on quickly. Flares it out to the left back pocket. And Sicily has it. Not sure where to go. Good pressure again from the Suns. He kicks to a contest over the top. His Wits. Howe comes up with it, gives to Newcomb, and he just pumps it long towards centre half forward. Kosicki was beaten for pace there by Graham. Graham runs onto the foot, he gets away from Moore, flips the handball over to Ballard. Closing him down is Kosicki, but Ballard gets the kick cleverly off the side of the boot deliberately. On the bounce to Impey. Well done by Holman. Lays another strong tackle through Shields' fingertips. Diving after the footy there and patting it forward was Ainsworth, only as far as Hardwick. He's tackled by the ferocious Holman once more. Impey's wrapped up by the local boy Rosas. The ball spills. Rosas still going. Impey has another crack as well. He's stripped of the footy. Good, tough football. The kick from Rowell in the Casbolt direction. He mops up, gives it to Swallow on the left boot. On the bounce, will it clear Chol? It does. And lands in the lap of Frost, who gives to Denver Granger Barras, Corbin Middlemass's favourite player tonight.
Hand pass to Day. Goes with a long kick down the wing. Ballard just tries to swat it away and then follows up. Ballard chucks it on his non-preferred left boot down the boundary line, and Sicily takes the intercept mark for the Hawks. A 41-point lead for the Suns. They led by as many as 46 at one stage in that first half. And Sicily goes all the way back to Frost. They're trained in the ruck during the week, but we probably see more of Kosicki in the ruck tonight than Big Sam Frost, who kicks down the wing. Knocked away to Chol. He's met hard by Jack. Heavy tackle. And the umpire says, I'll have it. Ball up on the wing in front of the benches and in front of our own Charlie King. Charlie.
That was a gang tackle on Chol, then stopped him in his tracks. Powerful work.
Wits works his way to the front. Too big and strong for Howe. Miller's kick towards half forward. Hardwick again, the hard tackling. Holman does well to wrap him up. And another strong tackle laid by Swallow. Sees the ball out of bounds about 35 metres around from the Suns' goal. Kicking to the Michael Long centre end. They're ferocious, these Suns. The big lead at half-time, you would have thought Hawthorn would be the team to come out all guns blazing, but the Suns knew to expect that, and they've been the team that's been tackling heavily in the first couple of minutes of the third term. Miller cleverly up. Gave it to Anderson. Gives it to Weller. The first goal of the second half to the Suns. Brilliant kick by Weller. And they just willed that one through. They've been intense for the first 3 minutes of this term, and they go to 11-8-74 to the Hawks 4-3-27. They've got a 47-point lead.
Miller started this third quarter like he finished the second and third effort there, and wins two hard balls, one after the other, and feeds out the handball for a running goal. Awesome work.
Yeah, obviously restarting RAF is hard at any time, but particularly in these conditions when you don't ordinarily play here, how difficult is it to get going again, or the cool-down, warm-up process?
Yeah, like I said before, I found it interesting that the Gold Coast did run into the rooms at quarter time, and I think both teams then would have sat in the aircon and cooled down. So, I'd still prefer to sit in the heat, but I'm from here and I'm used to it. So,
yeah. Former St Kilda footballer Ralph Clark with us on Grandstand AFL, along with Joel Bowden, Corbin Middlemass, Rob Cross and Charlie King with you throughout the night. 47 points, the advantage for the Gold Coast Suns. They got a secondary ball up in the middle. Hurried kick forward, spills to Holman. Hand pass to Swallow, drives it deep, top of the goal square. Casbolt out on a mission, went without the footy. And Day in the other direction, scoops it up for the Hawks. Hand pass to Hardwick. Away to Mitchell. In the defensive arc, just drops the footy on the turf for a bounce and then kicks out wide, looking for Lewis, one-on-one with Graham. They share it over the boundary line, a throw in right on halfway. The Suns 11-8-74, Hawks 4-3-27. Mentioned some of the other sport that's happening. It is the A-League Men's Grand Final tonight, and a 2-0 lead for Western United approaching the hour mark. So 2-0 Western United leading Melbourne City.
Nash went without it. Soccering off the ground was Ballard, and comes off fingertips of Hawthorn player Luke Brewston, goes out of bounds. They just can't find space, the Hawks, can they, Corbin? Coming out of half back there, Mitchell just looked and had to kick to a contest. Whereas the Suns are linking up with teammates much more readily, hence their big lead. Witts wins the tap. The path of Anderson, he can't gather before it goes out of bounds.
And the thing is, Witts seems to be able to just do what he wants out there with that other no opposition ruckman really for Hawthorn, and it's definitely having an effect on the game tonight.
Tried Koshitsky, Frost, now Daniel Howe's getting a crack. He's getting away a lot of height, a lot of weight, and giving away a free kick.
There's Witts again. First hand to it and wins a free kick.
At their wits' end, I think, Hawthorn. Weller, he's long bomb to right half forward. Inside 50, Chol flies. Sicily carves his way out and just bangs it up towards half forward. Open forward line. Collins gets pumped out of it by Lewis, but then comes back and lays a strong tackle. Mitch Lewis gets it onto his left boot. On the bounce, what can Koshitsky do? Coming out is Graham, lays the tackle, stands up in the tackle, does Koshitsky. Comes to Wingard, wants to be creative, thrown off the footy without it. The umpire let play go on. Out towards the wing. Casbolt on a long lead, traps it cleverly. We just spoke about the A-League final. Casbolt did pretty well to trap it then lost it though. It's inside forward 50 for the Hawks. Ballard taps it beautifully to his teammate. Collins missed it though. Lewis gives to Wingard. It's a tough shot, but if anyone can count, it's Corey Wingard can. I should say Chad Wingard. I think I'm talking about an SA politician, former sports journo there, Corbin. Chad Wingard gets the goal for the Hawthorn Footy Club, and boy do they need it. 5-3-33, bring the margin back to 41 points at the 6-minute mark of the third quarter.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to take a while and score again. They looked very slow going forward at half back, and then that scrappy goal again. It's been their way there tonight. Scrappy goals, but if they can get a couple of those in a row, they might get a bit of a fight back in them. Yet you never know.
That A-League game, by the way, if you want to listen, there is a call available through the ABC Listen app or the website abc.net.au/sport. The footy tonight, the other game that's been played, the Bulldogs and the West Coast Eagles, 11 minutes into the third term, the Dogs by 51 points. So the Eagles' woes continuing on that front. The SMS number 0437 774 774. Restart back in the middle. Lead cut to 41 the Suns' way after that. Wingard goal as Witts down to Swallow. High up and under kick, still into centre square. Ainsworth from the front half comes to retrieve it. Hand pass to Swallow. Tumbles a kick out to half forward. Jeffrey flies. Hardwick spoils. Jeffrey stays on it. Collects inside the boundary line. Kicks into the pocket and Rankin takes the mark. Gee, it looks like he stepped a play on. The ump's going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And Isaac Rankin can have a shot from a sharp angle. Right forward pocket for the Suns.
Joel Jeffrey really starting to find his touch out there tonight. He's starting to feel a lot more comfortable by the looks of it. That nice little bit of move he put on then again. Turned inside out and found Rankin running back into goals.
right in front of the light tower. He's going to move in. Looks as if he's going to kick a drop punt from a sharp angle. Rankin pops it straight across the face, and it's marked by Casbolt, who's clunked it next to the behind post. And Sicily will be filthy with that. Big Levi's going to have a shot in the opposite pocket. Well, that will really upset Sam Mitchell as well, I'm sure, in the coach's box. Big Levi moves around, snaps, misses. Near side and behind. Let's kick more goals than behinds this year, Big Levi. I know you mentioned it earlier, Crossy, and as a Carlton man, I'm sure you've experienced the whole gamut over the years from Levi, but 21-15 for the 32-year-old in his first year up on the glitter strip. So a 42-point lead for the Suns here early in the third.
Day's wobbly kick. Let's get some distance up towards the wing. Witts tapped it down. Morrison lays a strong tackle. And there's going to be a bounce. I know it's a big call, Raf, but there's a bit of Charlie Curnow in Joel Jeffrey, isn't it? Like his athleticism, his marking ability.
Yeah,
his spring.
definitely. Especially if he gets a bit of muscle on him and he keeps that balance and that speed, he's going to be very, very trouble for a lot of half-backers.
Jaff, yet again, Hawthorn have nothing to kick it to. He held up, and then kicks it towards half forward eventually. Butler taken in a two-person tackle and crunched to the ground. No prior opportunity. Well done by the Suns defenders across half forward.
Just one of those nightmare matchups where you put a small on him and he's too big and too good overhead, and you put a big guy on him
exactly
and
right, and that's
far
what,
too slow.
That's what happened when he was playing up here in Darwin. He, 19-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid, and you'd put a same size guy on him, and he'd be too tall and too strong, and so he's looking the goods already. So it's good to see.
The ball's out of bounds here on the far wing, opposite side of the ground from where we're sitting.
Got the Rising Star last week too, I believe. John.
5 straight down in Ballarat. Gee, it's a contrast, isn't it? Ballarat in May and then playing Darwin the next week. And the Suns, they've adjusted the better. Obviously in a pretty cool climate. The Hawks as well down in Launceston last Sunday. Quick kick forward from Hawthorn. It's picked off though. Weller against the boundary line, hands it to Powell, dumps a kick out of the defensive 50, but it's out of play. So they get a stoppage inside 50, the Hawks. We'll have a boundary throw in here about 30 metres out from their attacking goal. Gold Coast are 11-9-75. Hawthorn 5-3-33. So a 42-point lead for the Suns. Charlie King on the boundary. Charlie.
Just really enjoying it. Just checking some text messages, people listening to us around the country. So good to have people tuned in.
Just 7 straight kicks for the Hawks. Can they do it? Davies burrows through the tackle of Nash. Comes to Witts, the tallest man on the ground, bends down and gets it outside defensive 50 only as far as Mitchell. Great tackle by Miller on Day. And it's going to be a high tackle though. Day will have a shot for goal from just outside 50. A little bit excessive in the tackle, ruled the umpire. So Will Day, who's been playing across half-back, has drifted forward. He's a wonderfully talented player.
Just on some of those messages, Charlie alluded to, hi guys, can you do a shout out to Ben McCardle? Absolutely we can. Hello Ben. And also another Ben from Terrelgan. As a neutral supporter, I watched the D's Freo game today and it's flipped the season on its head, which is a good thing. I think we all agree with that sentiment.
Day runs to 50, kicks it straight into the men on the mark, and it's not going Hawthorn's way tonight. Miller, well tackled by Mitchell, and the ball is out of bounds. That's going to be a free kick to Hawthorn. So Day pumps it inside attacking 50. Numbers favouring the Suns at ground level. They want a crummer. Where's Moore? Going through was McDonald. It's close to the line. Miller mops up, and without too much pressure is able to send it back towards the half-back flank. Big fly came from Jeffrey to Hardwick. Brilliant smother by Joel Jeffrey. The pressure is maintained. Great pressure act. And has kept it inside the centre square just as Hawthorn threatened. They may get away with it now. Day sweeps the handball to Frost. The wobbly looking kick to the top of the goal square is no good. Mitchell Lewis had 2 to beat. And Graham has taken the mark for the Gold Coast Suns. He's got Weller in the pocket. He's going to go longer than that and clear defensive 50 in the Joel Jeffrey direction. He's being held a little bit by Impey. Umpire let him get away with it. Shields is well tackled by Chol. Just gets the kick away on the bounce towards Connor Nash. Jeffrey's in everything at the moment. Gave it off there to his teammate in Anderson. His high kick back into the centre hits the heel of Jath. He wasn't even looking at the ball, and Nash will send Hawthorn forward.
It's an ugly looking kick inside 50. Tough one for Wingard. Bowls past him. Collins knocks it out as he goes to ground. Wingard sold the dummy. Hand pass to Lewis in the pocket. Centering ball. Morrison takes the mark.
Play on.
Oh, it doesn't take the mark. Not paid. Came out at the last moment. Morrison still looking at the umpire, and in the end we're going to have a ball up. Gee, just as he tried to come down with it, Morrison at the last effort got a little knock from Will Powell and forces this stoppage 20 metres out from the Hawks goal. Witts grabs it, chucks it on the boot, kicks to centre half back. Nash bowled over in the heavy bump from Ainsworth. There's a free in all of that. And it's going to come back to Rouse somehow for a hold. Free kick for the Suns, centre half back. Gold Coast lead it by 42 points, 14 played in the third.
And maybe the slipperiness is descending on Marara.
Yeah, that's that slipperiness we spoke about earlier. It's starting to get a bit scrappy there.
Geez, they need a goal to the Hawks. Inside 50, the Suns go. Quick transfer of play, and Joel Jeffrey, the quick snap straight on the chest of Ellis is wonderful.
He's had a big couple of minutes, Jeffries. He's had an impact on everything there. The chase down smother across half back. Had another contest on this side over here. Won a handball. Got the ball out, and now he's got the ball down inside 50 and hit Ellis on the chest.
Ellis lining up for his second of the night. But you're right, Raph. Joel Jeffrey's last few minutes have been tremendous, showing the incredible potential he's got. Ellis shouldn't miss this. Stabs at it and kicks another one for the Suns. 2 he's got. The Suns have 12. 12-9-81. And the margin is back to 48 points. The Hawks 5-3, 33.
Very nice work, young Joel. It's awesome to see young fellow in his second or third game, I think it is, and to have that impact like that, 2 or 3 efforts in a row, work back down to the 450, and like I said, he hits Ellis on the chest and sets up a goal.
Midway through this third quarter, Suns now by 48, which I make that a new game high.
Sorry, mate, he seems like Joel might be adapting the best out of all, because he's probably the last one who's played the most games here, and might have a bit more left in his legs than everyone.
Sub's been made 2 for Hawthorn, so Finn McGuinness has been subbed out. Finn McGuinness has come on. And I'm pretty certain it's Jack Scrimshaw, the man who's come off for Hawthorn. We might just get confirmation of that, but looks as if McGuinness is into the game for the Hawks, so further problems for them availability-wise. You know I love a sub start, Crossy, so in their 11 games, it's the 9th time Hawthorn have used their sub, which is the most in the competition, equal most with Richmond leading into the weekend. So Scrimshaw out, McGuinness on. Secondary ball up and back from the restart back in the centre. Butterick slipping through, knocks it to Rowell, hand pass to Markov, great speed, runs away from his direct opponent, now kicks off a step inside 50. Jeffrey's up and marking again. Just floats through the air with such grace and comes down with it at left half forward.
This is a spot I've seen him kick a lot of goals from in his Wanderers days, so hopefully he doesn't let me down with this one. And
how do you work him from here, Raph?
Well, it seems to be still pretty still, so if he kicks it straight at that left goal post, it should hold its straight line and push itself through. There's pretty good protection from that Michael Long centre as well.
Just his third game of the season for Joel Jeffrey. He played 4 last year. The 20-year-old, the boundary line 10 metres away on his left-hand side. He sells the dummy around Frost. The man on the mark shoots goalward, but it's across the face. Gee, that would have been something special in front of the home crowd.
Their seats.
Behind for Jeffrey. And Sam Frost was hoping as much as anyone that he wasn't going to kick that. With that replay, I'm sure would have been shown 100 times. Crossy with a big Hawthorn defender in the air. He bought everything that Jeffrey sold him on the mark.
Well, Sam Frost doesn't mind selling a bit of Camden from time to time, so a bit of his own medicine. Alas for the fans, and another exciting goal. The shot on goal just missed as Ainsworth goes up, ran under the footy. Rankin, they've got some clever players on that forward line. Roses, Rankin, Jeffrey. Roses taps it forward. Hawthorn, Jath tackles Davies strongly. Ball squeezes out. Lots of players around the footy. Holman waits for it to come out. Ellis grabs it. Quick kick. Jath goes in for Hawthorn. 3 red jumpers around him. Jeffrey sweating on another contest here. Coming through is Day, and it goes out of bounds. It might have been Bramble, in fact it was. So 35 metres around in the left forward pocket from the Suns' goal. They're 12-10-82. Hawthorn 5-3-33. 18 minutes gone, third quarter.
Suspected concussion for Jack Scrimshaw, so that's not good news. Subbed out Finn McGuinness into the game for Hawthorn. Half forward here for the Suns from the boundary throw in. Miller, hand pass to Markov, kicks for Ainsworth, no mark. Caught in a tangle with Impey up, says play on. And Frost can run it out of defence. Long kick to halfway, but the Suns are well set up. And Ballard takes the intercept mark. He looks wide with the kick to Chol. And kick 3, all in the first half. Not that he's done yet. Charlie Constable, by the way, the medi-sub for the Suns. He's yet to come into the game. He's the left footer in Chol. Kicks in the Casbolt direction. He leads underneath it, and Frost just kills it over the boundary line. A throw in at half forward for Gold Coast.
Yeah, the crowd at that Michael Long Centre are getting a nice little show from the Darwin boys. That last contest out of the bounds when Malcolm Ross and Jeffries both tackling, putting some pressure on the Hawthorn player, taking him over the line.
It's going to go out of bounds again, just in front of Rowell and Newcomb. Two hard heads on the 50-metre arc. Just under the light tower, just around to the Michael Long Centre. Hawthorn 33, Suns 82. 19 minutes gone, third quarter. McDonald to Newcomb. Will this be deliberate? A couple of the Swans want it to be, and they get it. Free kick to the Suns. Big Collins will take it. Sam Collins can pump it back inside 50. Lots of numbers there. Oh, Hawthorn player goes down. It's Impey, and the umpire's going to pick it out. It's going to be a Suns free kick to Ainsworth, I think. There's a bit of pushing and shoving going on behind the umpire and the man on the mark. Frost not happy with something. Ainsworth setting up from the round the corner kick. Kicked 3 goals last week. He's got 1 tonight already. He hooks it around and gets his second of the night, and the Suns can do no wrong. And there's clearly something going on because Impey wasn't happy with Ainsworth. He wanted to remonstrate after the goal went through. Players from both teams congregating inside attacking 50 for the Suns. Meanwhile, on the scoreboard, Gold Coast 13-10-88. 20 minutes gone, third quarter. The Hawks just 5-3-33.
Starting to blow out now, isn't it, gentlemen? The Suns are really taking control, and I hope that wasn't a undisciplined free kick, because that'll be in the review, and Raph, we know what happens in the reviews. It's never comfortable if you're the one who's given away that free kick.
Yeah, it looked like he knocked him off over on the screen on the replay there, on the play, and that's why a couple of Gold Coast players ran in and remonstrated with Impey.
Ben Ainsworth kicked 3 goals, 1 last week against the Western Bulldogs. 3-1, a season high for him, and he's got a couple already tonight. Pretty stern chat on the bench for him as well, as his customary nowadays. Kick a goal, hit the bench immediately. 55 points a lead for Gold Coast, new game high, and a blowout here on a Saturday night up at Marara as Morrison gets the centre break, kicks to centre half forward for Hawthorn. Power arrives late, punches it back in the centre square. Here's Alice. Jams his kick to centre half forward for the Suns, but Frost in front of Jeffrey takes the intercept mark. He looks wide for Sicily, gets there on the hop, wants to give a hand pass to Jaff, and in the end decides to go himself. Long kick from Sicily, down to left half forward. Lewis went early and gave away the free kick. It was into the back of Collins. Oh, the free's gone the other way. And a free kick's going to go to Mitch Lewis. It looked as if he was climbing all over Collins' back.
I think the umpire paid it for shepherding.
Wow.
Never have I seen someone let another person sit on their head and then get a free kick for the privilege against them.
Yeah. Gee, Mitch Lewis, he's had a quiet night. He's a young star of the competition, off contract at the end of the year. 23-year-old, he's already kicked 22 goals, 7 this year. From his 7 games. He's from outside 50 here. He's got to kick a long drop punt, but it's offline. Behind. Suns are 13-10. The Hawks, with that behind, they move to 5-4. So as a result, a 54-point margin. 9 goals the Suns' way. We're in time on to the third term.
Weller has a bounce through the right back pocket. Kicks it down the outer side. Casbolt's big body holds the ground in front. Coming through there was Newcomb.
Holding the ball.
So it's going to be a Hawthorn free kick. McGuinness gives to Morrison. Morrison's kick, wanting Lewis. Kashitsky there as well. Coming through as Bruce is beautifully pulled off the football by Collins and holding the ball. Big Sam just reached out, grabbed Bruce's right arm and hauled him to ground. And wins a free kick on the last line of defence for the Suns. They lead 88-34 at the 23-minute mark of the third quarter. Collins, Graham, Ballard. They're not big names, are they, Corbin? But they're effective. And then Weller and the smaller defenders make up for a very solid defensive unit. Davies has done a few nice things tonight. Very athletic player, tall midfielder. Rao drops the mark, paddles it along, clean pick up by Anderson. Sweeping ball in the Roses direction, runs straight into Newcomb, who slams him into the turf, but high. And Roses wins the free kick 60 metres out. He's got players everywhere out on the right half-forward flank. He went for the widest player in the end. He could have gone to Anderson, but they've got players running everywhere, and Markov has got it 30 metres out, hard up against the boundary line in the right forward pocket. Markov started the game well. Lots of possessions in the first quarter, the former Tiger.
But it's just interesting there, Rob. You know, Malley gets a free kick, Roses, and then Newcomb thinks he can just give him a shove. Yet the umpire let it go.
And we've seen on occasion they haven't let it go. This round, certainly. Whoa, Casbolt went up early. Ran under the footy in the end. More for Hawthorn. Done by Sharp. Handball missing its target. Jath received from Mitchell. Day's kick down the line is out of bounds on the full. So even the normally skilled Hawthorn footballers are making errors, and the Suns will send it back in.
Caleb Graham will get the free kick. Another Suns Academy pick-up. He's out of Cairns, having played all his junior footy in that part of the world. Right on halfway, goes long inside 50. Thumped away by Sicily at the back. They're well set up across the half-forward line. Markov, a loose hand pass to Rao. Dishes off to Powell. Arches the back, runs past a couple. Kicks a cannon from outside 50, but it's offline. A behind for Will Powell. And a 55-point lead for the Suns restored, so they're well out in front. 13-11, the Hawks are 5-4. Time on in the third term. Charlie King is on the boundary. Charlie.
Yeah, just a quick one about Russell Jeffrey, the father of Joel Jeffrey. He's the only Territorian to wear the big V. He played for St Kilda and for Brisbane, and he was also named in the Northern Territory Team of the Century. So good breeding there for Joel's dad.
Hawks have it through Morrison between wing and half forward, out of side. King to the airport end. Lewis was second in lines, crunched in the middle of that pack. Newcomb went without the footy. Well trapped there by Anderson. Gives to Rankin. Rankin's kick in the Holman direction. He's got Sicily for company. Does it pretty well. Rode the tackle. Gives to Casbolt on the left. Big Levi. Up in front goes Jeffrey. Can't take the mark. Taps it down to Roses. One Territory to another. Roses gets his second. Brilliant contest by Casbolt. The deft left foot kick. And the two Territorians will celebrate 30 metres out from goal in front of the Michael Long centre. The Suns get their 14th and they lead by 61 points at the 26-minute mark of the third quarter.
That Michael Long centre crowd enjoying that show there. Joel Jeffries played that very well, and he had Malcolm come and put his hand out and just tapped it over to him nicely. Knew the contest was coming and just protected the ball nicely. Let Malcolm run onto that and finish nicely.
It was a 2-on-1, wasn't it? Two Territorians onto one Hawthorn bloke, and we were always going to have a win there, I think. Nicely done by Joel Jeffrey, but also well finished by Roses there. Although he did run about... that would have been terrible. The crowd would have gone mad had he played too far.
Be a brave umpire, wouldn't you? Absolutely. 61-point lead for the Gold Coast Suns now. But Hawthorn get a rare centre break. Morrison jams it on the boot to centre half forward, sliding through. There's a whistle here. There's a free for a hold, and it's going to Lockie Weller, a former Docker. Part of the Suns Academy once upon a time, and now back wearing the Suns colours. Long kick to the wing. Chol spills the mark. Chankwoth Jath mops it up. Hand pass away to Granger Barras. He's kicked that extremely high, but up and under on the same spot. Travelled far enough, said the umpire, and Ballard is going to take the mark, and it's paid. He looks back on the 45 for Miller to centre half forward. Holman outnumbered, lays a tackle on Nash. His hand pass back into dispute. Pack forms behind him.
Says play on. It comes out. The footy squirts to Miller. Slick hand pass to Sharp. He's got a heap of room. Sharp shoots but misses. Not a sharp shooter. Behind. 14-12 to 5-4. The Suns, what's the advantage now, Crossy? 62 points, a new game high. The Suns' way, ticking towards three-quarter time.
Sicily looks a bit like a defeated man as he waited at the top of the goal square to pump it back into play for the Hawks. Lewis takes a rare mark, nudging Collins out of the way. And kicks towards half forward. Wingard has made some space and he marks in front of his eyes and in front of Graham. He wants Howe, and Howe takes a mark. That's better transfer of the football by Hawthorn. He nudged Weller out of the way. The bigger-bodied Howe will line up for goal. 45-degree angle, 30 metres out for the Hawks' 6th goal of the night, and to bring the margin back to 56.
A couple of good contested marks there. Ball goes in quickly, one-on-one, even though Sicily didn't look like he was sprinting out of full-back. He got the ball almost to centre wing.
Yeah, we haven't seen that from Hawthorn all night. Really, have we, Joel? It's 3 marks in a row they took.
Shot on goal.
Howe for his first of the night, and he's missed to the right. Sums up the Hawks' evening. 5-5-35. The margin is 61.
Finished top 10 of the BNF last year, Daniel Howe, and change of coach. He's been in and out, been the sub a couple of times, just 5 games out of the possible 11 so far for the Hawks. A long exiting kick from defensive 50 for the Suns and a juggled effort. Anderson wants the mark. Did he juggle it over the boundary line? He did. We're going to have a boundary throw in between wing and half forward for the Hawks. Sam Mitchell just leaning back in the chair with his arms crossed. We're getting a shot of him at the big screen here, on the big screen here at Marara. Meanwhile, the Bulldogs by 70 points over the Eagles at three-quarter time. So, in a weird way, we got a close one. Or the close one out of the 2 that have been played tonight. And the boundary throw in, the Suns eventually win it. Swallow hands it to Miller, kicks down the wing. Holman just knocks it on to Hardwick, who's tackled by Roses, dispossessed. Umpire lets them go. Hardwick puts his head over it. Still bouncing around like a pinball inside a pack of bodies. Socket by Anderson to half forward. Chol out to meet it. He was dumped in the tackle as soon as he grabbed it. And a free kick is going to go against Granger Barrash. Chol to take it high half forward for Gold Coast.
Want to give a handball to Anderson. He's been told to just kick it long to the top of the goal square. Suns players around the footy. Jath went without it. Ainsworth was there. There's a free kick to Hawthorn without the footy. No, play on the call. Rao gave it out to Anderson. His quick snap around the body is not going to come up with a score. And McDonald has it. His kick isn't all that good. The pace of Markov runs towards the boundary line and centres it to the top of the goal square. Over the top of Jeffrey comes to Frost. And Frost of Hawthorn barrels it outside, defensive 50. And the Hawks get away with one there right on the stroke of three-quarter time. It's a big lead to the Suns here at Marara. They lead 14-12-96 to Hawthorn, 5-5-35.
The goal kickers so far across here tonight, we've got 3 for Mabior Chol. They all came in the first half. 2 for Ellis, Ainsworth and Roses. Meanwhile, singles for Weller, Anderson, Rankin, Casbolt and Jeffrey. Meanwhile, for the Hawks, 1 each for Moore, Wingard, Bruce, Kajitsky and Butler. 62 points at three-quarter time. Meanwhile, over in Perth, I mentioned a 70-point margin. The Dogs leading the West Coast Eagles 18-9. The Eagles 7-5. It's three-quarter time there. Now, the leading goal kicker on the ground is Jack Darling. He has 4 of the West Coast Eagles' 7 goals to three-quarter time, but blowout margins in both games here in Darwin and over in Perth. It's been a special night for the Suns, playing a home fixture again in this part of the world. It's just the 3rd time they've played here, while Hawthorn on debut at this ground, they become the 12th team to play for premiership points in these parts, and yet they're well down as we turn for home. A 62-point advantage for the Suns. The thoughts of Raf Clark and Joel Bowden coming up in about 60 seconds on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
My friends and I love the footy. Oh, we spend the whole week waiting for the next game. And before you know it, the ABC has the footy on the radio again.
It's the boundary in the right foot.
Before it even crosses the line.
2-on-1. Silvani! What a mark in the goal square.
It's there.
Light up your week with the best call in the game.
Grandstand AFL.
AFL.
On ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital. This is Sir Doug Nichols Round
Grandstand AFL.
on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Miller cleverly up, gave it to Anderson, gives it to Weller. The first goal of the second half to the Suns. Brilliant kick by Weller. It's inside forward 50 for the Hawks. Ballard taps it beautifully to his teammate. Collins missed it though. Lewis gives to Wingard. It's a tough shot, but if anyone can kick it, Wingard can. Joel Jeffrey, the quick snap straight on the chest of Ellis is wonderful. Ellis shouldn't miss this. Stabs at it and kicks another one for the Suns. Ainsworth setting up from the round the corner kick. Kicked 3 goals last week. He's got 1 tonight already. He hooks it around and gets his second of the night, and the Suns can do no wrong. Well trapped there by Anderson. Gives to Rankin. Rankin's kick in the Holman direction. He's got Sicily for company. Does it pretty well. Rode the tackle. Gives to Casbot on the left. Big Levi. Up in front goes Jeffrey. Can't take the mark. Taps it down to Roses. One territory to another. Roses gets his second.
The Sir Doug Nichols Round
on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Grandstand AFL, the Suns by 18 points at quarter time, by 41 at the half, and now by 61 at three-quarter time. Gold Coast 14-12, 96. Hawthorn 5-5, 35. Former St Kilda footballer Ralph Clark, two-time All-Australian Joel Bowden with you on Grandstand AFL. What do we make of that third quarter?
Well, it looked to me like Gold Coast have got this game well in their grasp. They dominated possession and they've hit the scoreboard consistently. I have liked Weller in the back line. I think he's played really well and he's been repelling the ball quite nicely. But it just looks to me that without a ruckman and without a second key big fella, whether that's back or forward, because even Sicily's not a real big fella, that Hawthorn have really struggled. And the out of McAvoy and any other guy who's over 6'5", maybe 6'6" for Hawthorn has meant that Levi Casbolt, who's, look, to be honest, not the greatest of players, but he's a big body, he gives a really good contest, and he's allowed the Gold Coast players to run onto the ball, and then it's just weighted numbers. They've had the ball, they've put it inside 50, and then they get the scores. It's really simple. Get the ball inside 50 more times than the opposition, therefore you create more scoring opportunities and you'll win.
Yeah, like we said, it was going to get scrappy once it got slippery and a bit later in the night, and we've seen that through the third quarter. And the Gold Coast was still able to be cleaner with the footy when they did get it, move it a lot quicker. And like we said, we've seen once there, Hawthorn did take 3 marks going forward in a row for the first time tonight, I think, but they missed the goal on the end of it. So, but good to see Joel Jeffrey had a big impact in that quarter, and we've seen him hit 2 or 3 targets in a row and have an impact on the 3 or 4 contests, one after the other, and have an impact and set up a couple of goals as well. So they're really putting on a nice show for the Darwin crowd, him and Malcolm.
And Malcolm did score another goal.
He kicked his second goal. So
Mally Roses scored another goal, so he's got a couple tonight. We're just hoping maybe in this last quarter, if it slows down a bit, breaks open a little bit, we might see Joel Jeffrey hit the scoreboard like he did last week in his Rising Star nomination game where he kicked 5 goals.
A lot of focus on the umpires, obviously, in the league at the moment. We had over 60 free kicks in 2 of the last 3 games, either side of round 10 and 11. So 63 last Sunday at York Park in Launceston and 60 last night for Friday night footy. We've had 41 here to three-quarter time. The AFL average is 44, so we're on track to go over that again. So we have had a little bit of intervention again tonight. The inside 50 numbers, so no surprise, lopsided in the Suns' favour, 50 to 29, so plus 21 in favour of the Suns. But the marks inside 50, so the nature of the entries are the ones that stand out. 15 to 3, the Suns' way marks inside 50.
Which is huge, because you assume that every time there's a mark inside 50, there's going to be a shot on goal, even if it's only 9 times out of 10. Well, if you've only had 3 inside 50, you're going to really struggle.
26 to 10 the scoring shots.
We've seen with Hawthorn's goals, a couple of them have come just by scrapping it forward and getting it forward and out the back sort of. And 3 marks inside 50 says it all.
Ralph Clark and Joel Bowden on Grandstand AFL. Charlie King's on the boundary. Charlie.
Yes, dominant, aren't they, the Gold Coast Suns? Just quarter by quarters, 4 goals to 1 in the first, 6 goals to 3 in the second, 4 to 1 in the third. And who's to say they won't kick 6 to 3 in this quarter?
Scrimshaw subbed out of the game for the Hawks, so injury adding to their problems. Suspected concussion, so he's out, and Finn McGuinness into the game early in that third quarter. Charlie Constable the sump, but the Suns unused. 61-point lead for the Gold Coast with a quarter to play. Witts down to Rowell. How much have we said that already tonight? Back to Witts, who kicks to centre half forward, and Rankin out to meet it. Takes the mark 60 metres out, centre half forward. Looks in the Casbolt and shoulder direction. Casbolt up, can't complete the mark. Off his knees, tries to whack it out. Denver, Granger Barras knocks it to Sicily. Short kick to Shields. Hand pass away to Bramble, who just kicks in hope down the wing.
And ends up on the chest of Sam Collins. Goes to Miller. It was always a tough ask for him. Lewis comes up with it for Hawthorn. His kick just into some vacant territory. Charging hard after it is Moore. Butterick for company. Butterick does very well, pushing Moore out of bounds. And there'll be a boundary throw in 60 metres around from the Hawks' goal. Kicking to the Michael Long centre end. Opening minute of the final quarter. It's been all the Suns. Hawks kicked the first behind of the night. And in the Gold Coast since then, 14-12-96 to Hawthorn 5-5-35. Both came into tonight's game with 4 wins, sitting in 12th and 13th position, with the Suns slightly higher thanks to a 1% percentage ahead of the Hawks. Shields kicks it inside, attacking 50. 2-on-1 battle. Spoil. And quickly wrapped up in a strong tackle on the last line of defence. It'll be seen through for a behind. Ballard quite happy just to let it trickle to the line. 14-12-96 the Suns, Hawks 5-6-36.
Wide margin in the other game as well, 70 points. The Dogs over the Eagles as we start the final term. Markov from the kick out, kicks for Butterick. Got a little nudge from Wingard as he leapt in the air, and Wingard immediately threw his hands up to say, it's surely not a free kick. The umpire blew his whistle and said, yes, it is. What do you think of that, Raph?
Oh, he did hit him in front on, so he wasn't facing the footy either, so make any contact front on, it's a free kick straight away.
Butterick, the centre half back for the Suns. The switch is on. Collins out to Sharp, who takes the mark. Logo of the outer wing. Kicks to centre half forward. Ainsworth the target. No mark. Spoil came from Bramble, but he's outnumbered here. Sockers it up into the advantage of Lewis. Picks it up around his ankles. There's nothing up ahead. Has to buy some time. Does a 360. Kicks long eventually to Kaczynski. Caught in a tangle with Graham and a free kick for a hold. It's going to Cozzy. And the Hawks will get a shot inside the attacking 50. It'll be at right half forward and he'll kick from 35 out.
I actually think that was an out-of-zone free kick. It wasn't the controlling umpire, so the midfield zone umpires called that from about 60 metres away, and clearly the Gold Coast player was upset, but he managed to keep his arms slightly out and then he put them down, so no 50-metre penalty, no dissent.
How would you have gone in your day, Joel, with the dissent rule?
I would have had plenty of 50-metre penalties paid against me. Plenty.
There's Jacob Kaczynski. He's had his kicking boots on in season 2022. His second year in the big time. 12 goals, 1 on the year. Right-footed drop punt, and that was always going to happen after the build-up. He misses to the near side.
I think you might say he shanked that. That did not come off well at all. Funny spin, funny wobble.
5-7 to 14-12. Suns way out in front.
Ellis marks a centre half back. Lovely kick in from Weller, who glides by winning the handball receive. Ellis waits and instead kicks to Anderson. 15 metres to the number 15. He flares it out wide in front of the grandstand to the very busy and impressive Butterick. Butterick runs away, kicks towards half forward. Witts has front spot, worked under the footy legally by Nash. Ainsworth, a slight fumble, but has time to gather it. Rankin has got Hardwick for company. Spills off his chest and goes out of bounds 45 metres around from the Suns' goal. Right half forward flank. Kicking to the airport end of Marara. Grandstand AFL, it's all the Suns. 96 plays, 37. 59-point lead, 6 minutes gone, final quarter. Big performance by the Suns. They stay in touch with the top 8. They've got North Melbourne here next week in a late afternoon game. Rao lays a big tackle on Shields, and Shields is not going to get rid of that. The umpire said he had no prior opportunity. There'll be a ball up.
Only time they've been 5-6 previously, the Suns, was back in 2014. And of course, Gary Ablett famously hurt his shoulder in that game against Collingwood, didn't play again thereafter. They ended up winning 10 games that year, though, the Suns. It was their best ever finish. And what made that year notable as well is the Suns also sacked their coach in Guy McKenna at the end of the season. They haven't had a good a season since, where they finished 12th. They're right in the finals frame. There's a free kick for a ruck infringement. Witts to take it, and the big man dancing straight over, shooting goalward. Kicks it to Shields, who marks last line of defence. He looks out to the opposite back flank, but Suns with the numbers at the drop, and Sharp takes it on his chest and immediately points to the big sticks. A man on the mark's 50 from home, and he's only about 5 in from the boundary line at left half forward.
Well, Witz's kick just a few seconds ago was a tired, lethargic kick from a ruckman who's rucked tirelessly all day. Now, Sharp's lining up from 50-odd out. You would assume he won't make it, but go the opposite. He'll bang it through for a goal.
Another one of the Suns' youngsters. High draft pick, the 20-year-old gives it a thump. He hasn't quite got the trip, and it's helped through on the line for a rush behind. So back to 60 points, 10 goals neat the Suns' way, 14-13-97, Hawthorn 5-7-37. A 60-point lead for the Suns, 6-minute mark, final term.
Day for Hawthorn. Trots another 10 metres from the top of the goal square and pumps it to the outer side wing. Spoil comes down to Connor Nash, kicks to half forward. Butterick works Wingard away from the footy. Moore taken in a tackle by Butterick, and then Moore mops up with another heavy contest. This time on Ballard, and there's going to be a ball up inside the Hawks attacking 50. 40 metres away from goal to the Michael Long centre end. They're on 5-7 to 14-13. 60-point lead to the Suns. That ball's not going anywhere, so the umpire will come and ball it up.
And they're starting to get tired, I think, out there now. The ball is genuinely slippery.
Beautiful tap by Witts, the defensive side of the pack. Gave it straight into the lap of Weller. He kicks to the wing. Roses gets around Sicily on the left boot. A high kick towards centre half forward. Ainsworth from behind. Almost had it. Got it on his chest at the first attempt. There's a very strong tackle on Day. Jath gives it out to Newcomb. Slips through the hands there of a Hawthorn player in Bramble. Came to Sicily. He wanted some teammates out on the outer wing. McGuinness mops up, gives to Impey. Impey gives it out to his teammate in Morrison. Got away there from Holman. Up towards half forward. In front was Lewis. Good pressure from the Suns defender Collins, and knocks it out of bounds between wing and half forward outer side. Hawks just into attack, trailing by 10 goals.
Yeah, some tired bodies starting to look out there, aren't they? That heat and that humidity's finally getting to them.
And the game seemingly done and dusted. A 60-point lead for the Suns. The ball's helped over the boundary line for a second time, so we'll have a boundary throw in here between wing and half forward for the Hawks. Cam the Truckee crossing the Nullarbor. Looks like another big loss coming up for the Eagles. That is correct, Cam. There's a wide margin in Perth as well. A 76-point lead for the Bulldogs over the Eagles. 11 and a half minutes into the third. For the boundary throw-in, it spits out the back of the ruckman to Bruce. Clean hand pass to Bramble. Arches the back, shoots goalward. It's helped through on the behind line. Getting back, Graham knocks it through for a rush behind. 8 minutes into this final term. Suns by 59 points here.
Butterick bounces away from the top of the goal square. The kick wasn't great. A rare mistake from Butterick. Comes to Newcomb, to Bruce. He loves these round the corner kicks. Good tackle on him though by Butterick, trying to make amends. Morrison centering ball. Wingard running back with the flight. Has two Suns to beat. Play on the call. He was clattered into from behind. The umpire said it was legal. Soccering off the ground looking for his teammate there. It was a Hawthorn player looking for Bramble. And it goes out of bounds just outside attacking 50.
Interestingly there, Shields kicking the ball off the ground away from his goal, and it went out of bounds. If it had been a Suns player doing exactly the same, that insufficient intent, I would have thought.
Witts got bumped off the footy by Howe. Witts taken down without the footy by Newcomb.
Palmed him off in the throat, I think. Free kick against Witts.
Okay, so Newcomb does get the free kick. He's 80 from goal, left half forward to the top of the square. Kashitsky, Lewis. Big spoil over the top came from Graham. Quick snap by Kashitsky is away to the right. Roved pretty well by a big man, but only a behind to Hawthorn. 5-9-39 the Hawks, the Suns 14-13-97. 9 minutes gone, final term.
So 4 behinds to 1 behind in the quarter, which is almost 10 minutes old, as Weller with the long kick to the outer wing, and Chol takes the mark in front of the grass bank out on the eastern side of the ground. Mabior Chol kicks up over halfway for the Suns to a one-on-one. Holman and Impey out there close to the boundary line. Jaff and Roses arrive, and the ball ends up out of play, and we'll have a boundary throw-in.
I'm going to have to say it's something to do with that wet or slippery footy that we seem to get up here with that goal-kicking efficiency with Hawthorn tonight. They've missed some easy ones, especially some easy snaps.
5 goals, 9. Howe doing the ruck work, toiling away with Scholl from the boundary throw-in. It beats the ruckman and slips down to Weller, who's got it again at high half forward. Kicks inside 50. Sicily knocks it towards the boundary line. Jeffrey and Jaff both out after it. Jaff arrives first and runs out of play, so a boundary throw-in left half forward for the Gold Coast Suns by 58 points, 11 minutes into this final term.
Still goalless either side in the final quarter. Howe this time smaller man in Casbolt to do battle with, no longer Witts. Kick clear by Moore, back into the centre of the ground. Butterick taps it onto his teammate, looking for Collins. Lewis went in hard for Hawthorn. Markov gives it back to Ballard. Markov and Wingard wrestling off the footy. Ballard's high kick out towards the half-back flank where Howe takes the mark. Sends it back inboard to Mitchell. Mitchell gives to Moore. Moore sweeps the handle over the top to Bramble. Bramble on the wing on the left. He can use his right and left pretty well. He's an impressive player. Gives it back inside to Moore. He steps around Ballard and then squeezes off the pass and finds Wingard. Better movement by the Hawks. Too little too late, but Wingard will line up for goal 45 metres out directly in front.
Not sure Chad Wingard's had the best of nights, but he has kicked a goal, so if he can put this one through, that's two. He's contributed somewhat, but the Hawks haven't had enough goal kickers, that's for sure. Only getting 5 majors to date.
For his 14th goal of the season, Wingard. Bring the margin back to 52 points. That's a good strike by Wingard. He gets his second of the night, and Hawthorn go to 6-9-45. The Suns 14-13-97.
He's a very good player, Chad Wingard. In fact, he was my son's favourite player about 5 or 6 years ago before the Tigers went on their march, and he came back to Richmond and liked Dusty and Jack and everyone else.
But you lost him for a bit.
Yeah, we lost him for a bit as a very, very young footy follower, and Wingard was his absolute favourite when he was at Port, but I still think he's a great player, Chad Wingard. 200 games, I think he's 250, maybe 300 goals. Yeah. And if he can contribute 2 goals a night, well, I think he's done his bit somewhat. He just needed a few more friends at Hawthorn, and I don't think they're going to have a very happy night at Hawthorn here in Darwin.
Bit of a shameless plug too, the Offsiders program, which we're on tomorrow morning from the Michael Long Centre. Chad Wingard's going to be our special guest, so you can see that on ABC TV tomorrow from 10 a.m. in your market around the country. As the Suns get a little clearance out of the middle, sock into centre half forward. Alice tries to stand up in the tackle, lost it. McDonald jams it on the boot, kicks it straight to Miller, who puts it over his head and through for a major. Right back at you, says Took Miller. And the Suns crack the ton. They move to 15-13-103. Hawthorn 6-9-45. 13 played final term. Miller with the Suns first to the final quarter.
He's this all-class Miller, isn't he? He's come off the season he had last year. He's just continued on that form, and to turn that ball over, take you 1 or 2 steps and turn and kick it straight through the middle with pressure on you all around you. That's his class.
And he's worked hard all night, I reckon. He's led up, he's got given options, he's taken marks, he's been in amongst the pack, he's done pretty much everything, and then for that ball to get kicked into him and finish off with a goal, it rounds out his night pretty well. And there's still 10 or more minutes to go in this game.
10 goal scorers for the Suns tonight. Witts does the ruck work and does the roving as well. Kicks it forward as far as McDonald to Mitchell, off to Day from the half-back flank. Day kicks up towards half-forward in the Bruce direction. Howe there as well. Comes in and lays a strong tackle. Day's kick towards the square. Well done by Collins. He wrestled Lewis away from the footy and then almost turned it over. Swallow came in to lend assistance and a little bit of comedy of errors, but they've got plenty of score to play with, and it goes through for a rush behind in the end. The Suns 15-13-103. Hawks 6-10-46. 14 minutes gone, final quarter.
Kick out duties for Will Powell. Sends it up to the wing. Davies flies for it. Spills down to Jeffrey. Hands it back to Davies, who's dispossessed. Here's Nash for the Hawks. Hand pass to McDonald. Surge kick inside the attacking 50. Camp down underneath it. Swallow and Powell. Powell in the end put his fist through it. Hawks win it. Bruce to Kaczynski. Hand pass to Howe. He's bowled over. Bruce goes back in for another go. Pack forms around him, and the umpire eventually says, I'll have it. A ball up, centre half forward for the Suns. Charlie King is on the boundary for us. Charlie.
Yeah, just having a look at the multiple goals kickers, 4 for the Gold Coast and just 1 for Hawthorn, you mentioned there. Those 2 goals to Chad Wingard, but pretty good effort by the Gold Coast today.
Roses chasing after more. Jaff charged down in a brutal tackle by Casbolt. He did it fairly, could have easily infringed by pushing him in the back. Ballard in the left back pocket, pumps it outside defensive 50. Pack forms out at half back, goes over the back to Holman. Birthday boy tomorrow, turns 27, the former Blue. It's been a terrific pickup for the Suns. Really hard-working, tough half-forward flanker. As Nash tried to slap it forward to Mitchell. They're relentless though, the Suns. They're going to play this right to the final siren. There's Holman again. Tackling intensity is not diminishing at all. That might have been a crude bump, and there's going to be a free kick here to the Suns, and they might remonstrate a little bit with that. It was a very dangerous tackle coming in late by Frost, a little bit clumsy. And the free kick is going to Ellis. He'll be tested. He's got 2 goals tonight, but I don't think he'll kick a goal from 55. Not known for his long kicking.
Jeffrey
goes short in the pocket, exactly in that direction. Bounces off the chest of Hardwick. Jeffries kicked one from this pocket earlier in the game, which could be a contender for goal of the year. This time he was taken down in the tackle. Roses one way, then the other. Sweeps the ball to his teammate in Swallow, who snaps a goal. The Suns have another. And yet again, some poor defending by the Hawks and just relentless wave after wave from the Suns. They bring up their 16th goal, and the margin is 63 points. 16-13, 109. The Hawks 6-10, 46. Swallow gets his first of the night. 11 goal scorers for the Suns.
Yeah, well, Ellis tried to hit up Joel Jeffrey there, missed him, but the ensuing play, the ball came out. Mally Roses gets it across to David Swallow, who snaps a goal, and he's had a fine career here at the Gold Coast Suns. I remember when he started, and he was the younger brother again. Yep. Raf, you know what it's like to be the younger brother. Yep. He was the younger brother, and he's made a very good career for himself at the Suns, and that's a nice way to finish off his work for the night as well, where he is able to, he's had 20 odd possessions now and kicked a goal. He's done very well.
Supercoach Stuart Dew, congratulations. One of the SMSs coming through, 0437 774 774. I mentioned Cam the Truckie. I hope you're staying safe crossing the Nullarbor. Paul in Darwin, one of our loyal listeners, Paul in Darwin's northern suburbs, listening to the call of the game, says that we need more games in Darwin to showcase this great city of ours. I must admit, Paul, as a visitor, it is a thrill to be here. Beautiful part of the world. A high-scoring game of footy at that. The Suns cracking the ton. It's the 14th time in 23 games at this venue a side has gone into 3 figures. So they're putting up a score, the Suns, and putting plenty of space between them and the Hawks. Hawthorn back the other way. They work it inside 50, and Mitch Lewis hits up, takes the mark. He lost his opponent in all of that. He'll shoot at centre half forward from 45 out. $63 points as it stands at the moment, as wide as it's been. The Hawks had 5 of the first 6 scoring shots in this final quarter, could only manage 1 goal and a couple of quick ones down the other end for the Suns. For one back for the Hawks, Mitch Lewis misses. Out to the right. So a couple of behinds for him. He's kicked a goal in his last 22 games, Mitch Lewis, but hasn't added to that tally so far tonight. We're now 19 minutes into this final term. The Suns by 62.
One of the heroes of last week's big win over the Lions, kicked 4. Tonight I've got him down for 2 behinds only. Things can turn around as the kick comes towards the wing through the hands of Howe and Witts. Holman barrels into Newcomb. Hardwick kicks it high on the left boot. It's going to go out of bounds on the full. Oh. Big leap by Jath, crashing into Witts. Witts is down. He's going to be helped up by both Markov and Rao.
Can he get a free kick, Witts, because he was pushed into that, which caused the danger for Jath. That was silly play by that Hawthorn player.
So Howe's the man standing on the mark,
especially when he's already out on the full.
Witts kicks up towards half forward. Out comes Casbolt. Davies did the right thing, saw the big beast charging out and just stood and let him continue on his path, and he took the mark. Frost double-fisted spoil. Sharp sends it back inside attacking 50, but only as far as Newcomb. The dashing Hawk from half back belts a handball 35 metres in the direction of Lewis on the wing. He hooks a clever kick around the corner to Howe. He can play on quickly. Vacant goal square. Someone running past over the top of Shield. Poor skill error. Ballard comes at him. Shields goes over. Witt ducks the head. Gets the handball back in the direction of Ballard. He's going to go off the ground. Very tired play. Good desperation by Nash. Forced it back in the direction of Lewis. Flying shot on goal from Lewis is wonderful. Clears the pack in the goal square. And Mitch Lewis from outside 50 on the fly brings up his first goal of the night. And the Hawks get their seventh in fact. 7-11-53. The margin is back to 56 points. The Suns 16-13-109. 21 minutes gone.
Well, you've got to say that's a bit inventive by Newcombe. Handballing out of defence, out of half-back. I reckon that was a 35-40 metre handball. That actually just broke it all open, Rob. And then we saw the scramble, a couple of mistakes, a slippery ball, some tired bodies. But very nice kick from Lewis there, 45 metres out. Yeah. Not a big run-up and just drilled it. He's a fine player, Lewis.
Off contract at the end of the season. The Hawks naturally very keen to keep him. I'm sure there'll be a bit of interest from elsewhere. Good size, strong mark overhead, and leading Hawthorn's forward line with 23 on the season. 2 goals each in this final term after the Suns led by 61. At three-quarter time, they currently lead it by 56 points. Restart bank in the middle. Witts wins it down off his backside. Howe tries to tumble a kick forward. Out to meet it comes Sam Butler. A couple of goes at it. Tried to take on Took Miller. Tackled, taken to ground. Gives him the benefit of the doubt and a ball up. Concern for Hawthorn with Jack Scrimshaw subbed out with suspected concussion. So McGuinness into the game early in the second half. From a ball up, Howe, who contested the ruck, got a kick away. It was smothered, and there's a free kick with a pack of players all over it. And it's a high tackle. It's going to go Lockie Weller's way. Back edge of the centre square. He chips short to Ellis. The 2-time premiership winning Tiger takes the mark alongside the centre circles for the Suns. Gold Coast by 56. As Ellis kicks out wide of the wing. Butterick dropped the mark he should have taken. Spills the wet footy off his chest. And Moore traps it for Hawthorn and ultimately wins possession. Hand pass to Mitchell. Short kick and Butterick makes up for it. Takes the intercept mark and goes inside 50.
Isn't he brilliant at that? He's made a couple of mistakes in the last quarter, but each time he makes amends almost immediately. Connor Nash trying a left foot kick. It dribbles off the top of the boot, off the tongue. But Hawthorn have the numbers through Butler. His kick's a wobbler too off the side. There might have been a little hold there. There is. And it's going to go to Moore. It might be against Butterick as well. So Dylan Moore, who's been busy in this last quarter. He's had a good season. He kicked 17 goals, 1 tonight so far. This might test him. He's got Day, or I thought Day was sliding by. Suns players seem pretty close to that protected area, but Moore goes from 50. He's got the carry. Just away to the right, behind only to Hawthorn, their 12th. 7-12-54 Hawthorn, Suns 16-13-109.
Start the bye rounds next week, so 11 rounds down, halfway mark of the season. For the next 3 weeks, we'll have 6 games each weekend. Both these teams backing straight up, so no bye for them next week. Hawthorn up against Collingwood at the MCG on Sunday. They are sticking around in Darwin for a couple of days, though, to do some clinics and some stuff around town. And the Suns, meanwhile, they're staying up here. They've got North Melbourne, as you touched on earlier, Crossy, next Saturday back here at Marara. As the Suns through Jeffrey, hooks his kick down the wing, and Ellis is going to be paid a free. Just forward of the wing, Day stands the mark. Brandon Ellis goes long looking for Joel. He got a block. Says play on. And Shields knocks it out of play. Forward pocket, boundary throw in for the Suns.
Got to say, Corbin, he sure did get a block. He's a big guy. He's trying to run at the ball. And the Hawthorn player just bumped him off the ball. The ball's 5 or 10 metres away. That's a clear free kick to me.
That'll be Connor Nash in ruck against Davies. Davies got his left hand to it. There's a hold though, and another free kick's been picked out, and it is going to the Hawk to Davies. So Alex Davies back into the team tonight. He's an impressive player, tall midfielder, doing the ruck work on this occasion, and he could become the 12th Gold Coast Suns player to score.
Just evening it up there, I reckon.
A Hawthorn chant we can hear down there. That's pretty hopeful thinking, but good on them. 7-12-54 the Hawks. Suns 16-13-109. Davies lining up for the 17th goal for the night for the Suns. Closing in on full time. He makes no mistake, and Alex Davies gets his first. 17-13, 115. 25 minutes gone, final quarter. The Hawks 7-12, 54. The margin is now, again, 61 points.
All feels a bit played out from here. Alex Davies with the goal. Another goal kick us up to 12. Is that right, Crossy, tonight? He's third on the season. Another academy product for the Suns out of Cairns. Charlie King with us on the boundary. Charlie, still plenty of noise from the Marara faithful, even though the game seemingly beyond doubt a long time ago.
Yeah, just the supporters for the Hawthorn, the kids, they're gathered here. There's probably about 20 of them standing behind the dugout.
Tough one when the margin's as wide as it is. 61 points, the lead for the Gold Coast Suns. Back in the middle. Rao tries to soccer it forward. Day off the square, runs into traffic, lost it. There's a free kick here. I think it's going to come back for kicking in danger. It's a free kick for Tom Mitchell, who's wringing out his right hand after copping a boot from Swallow on the way through. Suns by 61, time on in the last. Full time in the A-League Grand Final, by the way. A 2-0 victory for Western United. So an own goal in the second minute, and then Prijovic scoring on the half-hour mark. And the newest franchise in the A-League men's competition, Western United, win the title in their third season. A 2-0 win over the premiers at the end of the home and away season, Melbourne City. So more on that to come in the post-game. Quick kick forward from the Hawks, but it's coming back. Davies looks inside 50, and there's Roses leaping up and marking over the top of Sam Frost. And the man they call Malley can go back and have a set shot from 40 out, dead in front.
Let's hope he can finish this one off. He missed one early in the game from a similar distance, from a similar angle. He's getting a bit of instruction from the water boy there, it looks like.
Just shot his head back over his shoulder to see where the voice was coming from. Malcolm Roses on his way in. Left-footed drop punt. It fades badly out to the right. He's missed the whole set. Out of bounds on the full.
That water boy's got a lot to answer for.
Morrison for Hawthorn. Steps around Powell onto his left boot. Graham, though, is well set for the Suns, and he marks on the wing unopposed in the end. Wingard was the nearest Hawk but couldn't get to the contest. Graham kicks inside 50. Jeffrey! Great grab in from the side. Didn't need any other body to take a ride on. His spring just took him to the football, and he marked in front of a pack of 3 or 4 players. So one Territorian missed his third goal of the night. Joel Jeffrey will line up from a similar distance, slightly further to the right. He'll kick from about 45 metres for his second goal of the night. An exciting territory duo playing for the Gold Coast Suns. To make the margin 67 points. Joel Jeffrey for his second goal of the night, and he hooks it across the face as well. It'll stay in the field of play. Cholo's one go, tries the second. The spoil came from Frost. Little handball over the top, back to Chol, taken in a strong tackle by Bramble, and no prior opportunity. There'll be a ball up 10 metres out from the Suns' goal.
Some tired legs from the territory boys there.
Final 2 minutes on the game clock. The result well and truly cast a 61-point lead for the Suns. Chol grabs it out of the ruck, hand pass away to Rankin, who runs into the behind post. The ball bobbled from his grasp. I'm pretty sure it hit the behind post before going through, so that'll be a boundary throw-in. Half-hour mark, final term. 61 points in favour of the Gold Coast. Boundary throw-in. You can throw a blanket over around 20 players here. Davies doing the ruck work, wins it down. Swallow kicks it across the ground. Granger Barras knocks it in front of Frost. He soccers it out to halfback. Sharp there, though, for the Suns. Hand pass out towards Markov. Moore got himself in the way. Eventually wins possession. He's tackled and taken out of bounds. So a throw in. Half forward here for the Suns. Tom Mitchell tonight, Raf. He's had 29 disposals. He's wearing some special boots. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, the boots he's been made for the Indigenous round, obviously, but a niece of mine who unfortunately passed away last week, her funeral was yesterday. Tom Mitchell's also a cousin of hers. So those boots are going to be auctioned off for epilepsy. So if you're interested in those footy boots and like to contribute to the Epilepsy Foundation, which is my cousin unfortunately has passed away from, then you can jump on the epilepsyfoundation.org.au and you can auction Tom Mitchell's boots, see if you can purchase them.
It's a great cause, and on behalf of all of us, Raph, sorry for your loss, and a nice touch from Tom tonight.
Thank you.
Mel Roses has won a free kick 25 metres out directly in front, and he'll have another chance at lining up for his third goal. He's kicked 2-1 I should say, and one out of bounds on the full. A stuttering approach. He stabs it through for a goal this time, right on the final siren. Mel Roses gets his third, and the Suns are big winners. 18-13, 121. Fitting that a Territorian kicks the final goal of the night. Hawthorn 7-12-54. Massive 67-point win to the Suns.
Nice finish for Malcolm. He's been amongst it all night, and he kicked a couple across the face there, and nice to finish it with the last one.
Sing along to this, Gold Coast fans. Pay very close attention to this team. A 67-point win for the Gold Coast Suns. They came up against a team who we thought were around their station. Well, boy, did they put a gap between the pair. Hawthorn dropped to 4-7. The Suns are now 5-6, so it's their equal best start at the halfway mark of the season. Malcolm Roses coming home, kicked 3 for Joel, 2 for Ellis, for Ainsworth, and then singles for Davies, for Miller, for Weller, Anderson, Rankin, Swallow, Casbolt and Jeffrey. The Suns by 67. In their 2 previous games here, they kicked 61 points combined. Tonight they won by 67. They scored 121 points, the Gold Coast, and did a job on the Hawks. Hawthorn in to finish 7-12-54. Chad Wingard kicked 2, singles for Lewis, for Moore, Bruce, Kajitsky and Sam Butler. We've got a long post-game ahead of us, so I hope you can stay with us throughout. We're going right through to 10:30 local time. That's 11 a.m. for those of you on ABC Radio on the east coast of Australia. Charlie King is downstairs. Hopefully we'll get some reaction from the Gold Coast camp. We'll pull apart the day in footy. Big winners here, the Gold Coast Suns by a wide margin, 67 points, and for the Suns that's their biggest victory this season. Meanwhile for Hawthorn, unfortunately they have had a similar loss. They lost to the Saints by 69 and now a wide margin to the Suns by 67. Full time over in Perth was even wider in the West, 101 points in the finish. The Western Bulldogs winners over the West Coast Eagles. So final score there, 25-11, 161 the Bulldogs. The Eagles 9-6-60. The Dogs by 21 at quarter time, 32 at the half, 70 at three-quarter time and 101 in the finish. And the leading goal kicker on the ground was Aaron Norton and Jack Darling with 4, so well spread, the Bulldogs contributors. Joel Bowden and Raph Clark with us here on Grandstand AFL at Marara. The Suns by 67 points. Frame it up for me, Joel. What do we witness here tonight?
Well, I think it started out as an even contest, and Hawthorn had a fair percentage of the ball early in the first quarter. They were using the ball nicely, but they couldn't get it past half forward. From that point, it was the Suns' backs, and I think Lockie Weller played a really good game off half-back. He kicked the ball really long. It was decisive, his movements, and it got the ball into their forward half very, very quickly. Now, that was helped, and it was compounded by a couple of things. One, a lack of height and strength from Hawthorn, but also the fact that they had the Suns, they had Chol, and also they had Levi Casbolt down there. They created the opportunities, they created the contests, and I think they started that first quarter in a way that they ended up playing the whole game. Yep, they started to run out of legs. Everyone was tired. It is a bit hotter up here in Darwin than it is anywhere else at this time of year. But a 67-point win is fabulous for the Gold Coast Suns. They'll enjoy this week that they're spending up here in Darwin. They'll come up against North Melbourne next week. Now let's just project forward to that game. North Melbourne haven't been going that well. Yeah. If they can come to Darwin and leave with 2 wins, well, this might become their second home. You never know. I thought that Rankin was good across half forward. I really liked his speed. I really liked the way that he played. Ellis was good through the middle. Miller was really good, finished off his work in the last quarter with a goal, as did Swallow. But probably my favourite player tonight, the best player that I thought was out there and just dominated from the get-go, mainly because of the lack of height from Hawthorn and the lack of a recognised ruckman, was Witts. He dominated the ruck. I reckon he's had 9 out of 10. He's worked hard all day, and he was just in everything. And if you can be the ruckman on the field when there's not another recognised ruckman on the field and not dominate, well, then people are going to go, oh, you've had a terrible game. He's actually done exactly what we expected of him. Dominated the ruck. He pushed it a lot to this side. So the western side of the field or the grandstand side of the field, and it looked like to me that the Suns were playing the right-hand side of the field with their right footers running onto the ball a lot. Some good efforts from our local kids as well. So Mally Roses finished the game off with a goal. He's had 5 shots at goal in a game. As he develops over the journey, he'll get better at that. Hopefully he kicks 4 goals, 1 or 5 goals straight. And we saw a terrific goal from Joel Jeffrey in the second quarter, I believe, where he turned on a dime and slotted it from the St Mary's pocket. So all up for Territorians, it's a good night. For the Gold Coast Suns, it's a good night. Unfortunately for Hawthorn, it's not a very good night. Tom Mitchell's played well. I thought number 1, Harry Morrison, was good. Chad Wingard's come up with a couple of goals, but they really need Ben McAvoy. They really need a couple of other big guys because they were lacking in that department tonight.
What did you think, Raph?
Yeah, I think the Gold Coast, their half-backs really took control of that game early on, and then their half-forwards as well. Their big forwards, having the 3 talls, like we spoke about. They competed in both contests in the air, created opportunities for their small forwards, and they ended up with, multiple goal kickers. Well, I think they had 12 or 13 goal kickers in the end, and that was the difference, where Hawthorn only had maybe the 3 or 4 goal kickers. And just like we said, they only had the 3 or 4 marks inside 50 up until the 4th quarter, and that showed. So you got to have more than at least 5 or 6 marks if you're going to have any impact on a game. But I already like well across half-back today. I think he really set up Gold Coast really well when he had the footy in his hands, and he's run and carry, and the direction changes with the footy when he had it.
Ruff Clark and Joel Bowden on Grandstand AFL. We'll pull it apart from every angle. We've got another half an hour, 35 minutes or so. We'll get some reaction from downstairs as well. Charlie King is close to the Gold Coast camp. We'll also head inside their rooms and have a listen to the song. So a lot to pull apart from a Suns perspective. They get themselves to 5 and 6. They've now won 3 of their last 4 games. Meanwhile, for Hawthorn, they snapped a 4-game losing sequence last week with victory down in Launceston, but tonight looked a bridge too far for them. Ultimately, in the finish, a 67-point defeat. Let's get down to Charlie King. Charlie.
Well, as we come up, expecting the conditions a bit. It was a good win.
You kicked.
It was unreal to do in front of the family that were sitting on the other side of the oval. I loved it. Just went through, so happy with it.
And the 2.
Mally's dream to play in AFL.
We're just getting some, Charlie.
Mally played well. He lit it up, used his speed at the back and his lethal left foot, so it was good to run out with my brother boy from Darwin, so yeah.
67-point win, happy with that?
Yeah, unreal. Loved it.
Tonight.
Thanks, mate.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, we got bits and pieces of it. That was Charlie King downstairs with Joel Jeffrey, who kicked a goal tonight from the Wanderers Footy Club and part of the Suns Academy, obviously hailing from this part of the world. He spent 7 years growing up in northeast Arnhem Land and gets a chance to come back and play in front of his home fans tonight. And Malcolm Roses just spotting some loved ones in the crowd, so running over towards the fence, Raf, for a few hugs before the team makes their way off.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be a special moment and something that, I'd wish I'd gotten a chance to do with St Kilda. We never got a game in Darwin, and that was definitely something anyone would have loved to have done coming from Darwin. You don't get many AFL games up here, but especially play in front of your own family and friends. That'd be a very special moment, and you kick a couple of goals as well to finish off the game.
You back with us, Charlie?
Yeah, actually, I think Melly Rose, I was talking to his grandma, Eileen Cummings, who I think's over on that wing, and I think that's where he sprinted to it after he did that interview on the field here. So he's still over there now, getting mobbed. Meanwhile, the rest of the team's waiting for him to head into the change room.
Thanks, Charlie. We just see Malcolm Roses now duck off, and I'm sure his teammates won't mind that. Given the occasion and the chance to play in front of his home fans, they're more than happy to wait for him before they make their way off the ground. So a 67-point win, 18-13, 121 over Hawthorn, 7-12-54. All in all,
missing a few, aren't they, Hawthorn? Well, we've already spoken about the ruckman, but they're missing Jack Gunston and Jago O'Meara.
Yep.
They're pretty key players for that Hawthorn lineup. And I think one of the things that the Gold Coast defence was so strong, they've got Graham down there, Ballard, Collins, they're big bodies, and allowed the smaller players in Weller. Markov was terrific early in the match. Once the ball hit the deck, they were able to run it away with their pace, their skill. Well, that's too hard and tough tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And Gunston and O'Meara, they're 100-plus game players, and that experience, you can't buy that. And you're definitely missing that out here tonight. And definitely that second or third tall we spoke about that Hawthorn needed, definitely a genuine ruckman, which was that able to control the whole game from the get-go and do what he wanted, sort of thing out there. So, yeah, unfortunately for Hawthorn, hopefully they can get those couple of players back pretty quickly.
The Suns are off the ground, Charlie, so that means a chance for a kick for the patrons that have stuck around.
Yes, they'll go out and have I feel like joining them myself after that, Corbin. I reckon I could have a shot from about 10 metres out.
Nice job tonight, Charlie. We'll see you back up here. So the Suns winners by 67 points. They won every quarter, and in the finish 5 and 6. We'll get inside the Suns' rooms for a bit more reaction momentarily. Joel Bowden, Raf Clark, Corbin Middlemass, Rob Cross upstairs. The other game tonight, the Western Bulldogs big winners by 101 points. So I guess the season overall, Joel, when we look at the Gold Coast Suns, it was always going to be a big year with Stuart Dew off contract, the looming spectre of Alistair Clarkson obviously in the background, but he's got this team now 5 and 6. You touched on it during the call. North the next week. Nothing's a given, but it's as close to in the competition at the moment. If they get themselves to 6 and 6, they're right in the season.
Yeah, well, they certainly are, and it's been unfair on Stuart Dew. Stuart Dew's gone to the Gold Coast and been given a plan to say, hey, you're going to need to build this team. That they're not a bunch of superstars. You're going to need to get a game plan that works, that's going to be sustainable over the journey. And it's not his fault that Alistair Clarkson and Hawthorn had a terrible relationship breakdown last year, that he is no longer coaching the Hawthorn Football Club and he's available as a coach next year. That's nothing that Stuart Dew's done to be in any position that should be afforded upon him. And I think he's doing a wonderful job. You don't hear him complain. You don't see him jumping up and down. He's a fairly calm person from what I can tell. And it seems as if he's got this group playing reasonable footy. They've had some really good wins this year. They've had a great win here tonight. And next week, let's just say they beat North Melbourne. He's right in the hunt for a finals berth in a period of time in his coaching where he's got a group, he's developing them, he's growing them with a couple of really talented young kids that we're going to have a very special eye on because they come from the Northern Territory. It's fabulous. And I wish him well, and I just don't envy him the position because the spotlight, I mean, if you're a Melbourne coach, it's probably a little bit brighter, but if you're Stuart Dew on the Gold Coast and Alistair Clarkson's hovering around like a sea eagle, sitting up there on his gum tree looking down, well, that's a bit unfair from time to time, I'd say.
Yep, absolutely. Do you think they're a finals team?
Look, I don't know, Corbin. I haven't seen them live before this evening, and I just couldn't tell you. I would say this: the intensity went out of the game quickly up here. Now that could be the weather, but you know that in the finals, you watch these teams after they've played 22 games for the year, then go to another level. They're going to have to win 12 games to get into the finals. We're at the halfway point almost, but they're going to have to do it for 4 quarters over and over again, and they're going to have to go to another level because Melbourne are at that another level, and they're not coming back to the pack yet. They're waiting for the pack to catch them, notwithstanding the fact that they've had their first loss in about 300 days today. They are the yardstick. And last night's game, which I watched, Richmond versus Sydney, they went till the final siren. And that's what the best teams are doing, and that's what this Gold Coast team and any team's going to have to learn to do if they're going to make finals and then be successful in finals football.
They're a pretty well-balanced team. Like they've got the skillful players like the Melroses and the Joel Jeffreys, Rankins, but they've got the hardheads as well. You know, the Holmans, the Buttericks. They're a well-balanced side, a good mix of size. I mean, you all know that they're missing Ben King, of course. He'd be the icing on the cake, but I think they've got the balance that could potentially vie for that 8th spot. And you just got to look at the wins they've had this year. They've beaten Fremantle, they've beaten Sydney, and they ran Melbourne to within a couple of kicks. So they've got the scores on the board. Yes, they probably lost some games they could have won, but they haven't been blown out of the water. I think St Kilda they might have lost by about 50 points, perhaps. That's probably the biggest loss. Otherwise, their previous other bad losses have been around the 4-goal mark. So they're competitive in every game they play. Just need a bit of luck. And
this competition's going to be even through the middle. Like you've got the outliers, unfortunately. You've got North Melbourne and West Coast down the bottom, and you've got Melbourne up the top. They're going to be the outliers, which means in between it's going to crunch up. There's going to be a fight for that 11th and 12th win. It'll come down to around 22, 23. They've got to stay in the hunt. They've got to be there. They've got to accumulate wins. They've got to win the ones they should next week against North Melbourne. And then they've got to pull one, like beating Sydney in Sydney, or like beating Melbourne in Melbourne, or beating Carlton at the MCG, something like that. Yeah. Sorry, Charlie.
Actually, I saw them beat Carlton on the Gold Coast. The Suns, they played some terrific footy. Melly Rose has kicked 3 in that match. I was just thinking they've done really well out of those 2 territory players they've got. They kicked 4 out of 18 goals tonight, and they kicked 6 out of 13 goals when they had that game against the Western Bulldogs. These 2 territory players are working together so well, and we always talk about the X factor. They just have it. They have an understanding. They're like brothers, like you and your brother having a kick in the backyard, mate. And your brother as well, Ralph, getting together and kick. You know each other's game a bit, don't you?
And we mentioned that a bit tonight, that David Swallow's out there as a younger brother, but it's that connection, it's that understanding. And footy is such a ambiguous sport. You just don't know which way the ball's going to bounce. You just don't know which hand it's going to bounce off or which way it's going to fall. But if you can just predict it, 0.1% of the time, you're at an advantage, and that seems what these guys are doing. And that's why the Cracker brothers were so good. That's why the Gilbert and Adrian McAdam combination would have been so good instead of them playing against each other. That's why when the Clark brothers played at St Kilda, it was fabulous, and that's why I enjoyed it all the time playing with my brother at Richmond. It's just one of those special connections.
Yeah.
It's amazing, these games that teams take away from home, and you can approach them one of 2 ways. We saw the St Kilda game up in Cairns a few weeks ago. They ultimately let it slip against Port Adelaide in a game that we thought they would have won. But if you attack it with the mindset that, look, we're going there and we're going to use this as our advantage. So we're going to come to Darwin, we're going to play 2 games there every year, and we're going to be really tough to beat in this neck of the woods, then what an advantage that is. I mean, it can break a number of ways. Joel, the Richmond, when they sold their games to Cairns, it was always a problem spot for them and they could never find victories. But if they're able to take advantage of the conditions, they could really use it as a real advantage.
Well, it's an interesting point, because on the way here tonight, my kids were saying, Dad, don't Melbourne normally play up here? And they have for a long time. And that's when Melbourne were going so well. They'd play their games up here, and they were trying to make a bit more revenue through different games and through different sources. But Corbett, I think you're absolutely right. If you could make this an unfair competitive advantage, if you knew the conditions, if you trained up here for the week before, maybe, hey, we've got the Michael Long Centre over there, maybe you did your pre-season camp up here, well, all of a sudden this becomes a bit of a fortress. Heavens, why don't you play 3 games up here?
Yep. Well, I mean, you look at the Hawks did the same thing in Launceston, didn't they? They had that some stupid record there for so many years where you couldn't go there and win. So I feel like, particularly in the Melbourne media, we spend so much time grizzling about, they should have played all their games in, where they're meant to play their games. But yeah, it feels like it's such an attitude thing if you can turn it and make it work in your advantage. So I mentioned their head-to-head record. They're 5-6, but the games that they've played at home so far this season, so they've only had 4 home games, true home games for the Suns. Obviously, they've now played one of their 2 games in Darwin, which will count. But their 4 games at Carrara have been against Melbourne, Fremantle, Brisbane and Carlton. So they've played the top 4 teams on the ladder at home, which means at the back end of the season, they've still got 5 games to come. They play West Coast and North Melbourne twice, and they play Hawthorn twice and Collingwood twice. So really, out of their double-ups, they play bottom 10 teams and the last 2 teams on the ladder who have really been anti-competitive so far.
Yeah, they've got a real advantage there, don't they? And like you're saying with that Darwin connection, if they do pick the next best 1 or 2 kids out of the territory because it's their zone, that's going to help as well with that connection. You talk about Joel and Malcolm tonight, how they can connect and find each other on the footy field. You add another 1 or 2 of the best territory talents coming through to your Gold Coast list, and you build on that and you play those 1 or 2 games here. You never know what's going to come out of that. And
I think
big advantage.
I don't think Hawthorn came here deep down expecting that they would win this game, but I thought they'd see themselves. In all honesty, they'd see themselves being competitive. They didn't win a quarter. They were beaten in every single quarter, and that was just a comprehensive win from a team that's at the top of its game. I reckon the Suns are looking really good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they're right in the finals frame. I think it opens up for them. They didn't have Ben King, obviously, for the whole year, and they've been able to find Chol and Casbolt as options for them up front. So it's starting to make a lot of sense what they're building. We talk a lot in modern footy about profiles. What does your profile look like? Which essentially just means how do all the statistical numbers come together to prove that you're a good team? Well, the Suns, their game plan, at least statistically, looks very simple. So they're second last in marks, last in disposals. So they don't have a lot of the footy, but when they do, they're ranked number 4 in the competition for kicking the ball forward. So essentially when they've got it, they're going in one direction, they're not going back and across and mucking around with it. And they're also top 5 in the competition for time spent in forward half. So territory game nowadays, get the ball in the front half, Joel, lock it in there and try to capitalise. And I guess we saw that on display tonight. They adapted better to the conditions much better than what Hawthorn did.
Yeah, they certainly locked it in their half. I'm not sure what the inside 50s were at the end, but I reckon they probably had over 60 inside their 50. And that's not because they were dominant with the ball. Possessions would have been about even. It meant the ball was not getting into their back half often. It'd go inside 50, it'd come out, wouldn't get past halfway, it'd go back in, it'd come out, it'd go back in, then they'd score. It was those repeat inside 50, which just puts the back line under so much pressure. They start to get fatigued. Then there's a small mistake. Someone jumps onto it, snaps a goal. I think what they're doing, which all clubs are trying to do, right? Get the ball inside 50 more often than the opposition and try and score more goals than the opposition through those inside 50s. It's not a complicated game when you look at it from behind the glass here. You've got a set of headphones in and it doesn't matter which team wins. But they're clearly executing something better than the opposition. I mean, my view has always been that clubs could just, and they pretty much do, just swap game plans. It's how you implement that game plan that really matters and really counts. Clearly tonight, they implemented it better than Hawthorn. Let's see next week how they implement it against North, and then let's follow them for the rest of the year and see how they can go.
I think Levi Casbolt, I know you mentioned him during the call, but he just had so many opportunities to take marks and he doesn't complete the mark. I think he kicked 1 goal tonight. He probably should have kicked 5 from the opportunities that he had. I'm not sure what they do up forward with him, and I mean he'll draw a good defender. It doesn't matter because he's a big guy, but he's a former Carlton player. I want him to do well.
Yes, Charlie, I can see that in you. But see, I like Casbolt in this team because he allows Chol that little bit of extra freedom. He'll allow Joel Jeffrey to get the third defender. I mean, Joel Jeffrey needs to get the third defender for the next few years of his career so that he can develop and grow and get a couple of marks out on a lead rather than having some big backman, just bearing down on him every time. He needs his confidence to grow. He needs that. And that's what Levi Casbolt's doing, in my opinion, for someone like Joel Jeffrey. Or even for Chol. Like we saw we saw the contest that they both put on, and yet we want them to mark the ball, we want them to clunk it and turn around and kick a goal from 55 metres. But it doesn't matter when the team wins.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he has 1 kick or 10 kicks if the team's winning by 67 points.
Yeah. Well, especially good when you're running forward and you look up and you can see Kaz Bolt and some other, our big, tall players down in that forward line. You have the options to go.
Absolutely.
So they get themselves to 5 wins, so they're up to 11th on the table. There's a bit to play out this weekend. If Collingwood's percentage drops tomorrow, which a few Carlton fans in the box
we know.
Try and tell me that that's going to happen tomorrow. But that means they could potentially be as high as 10th by the end of the weekend, which would put them just a game outside of the top 8. So a big win for the Suns tonight. They get home by 67 points. Corbin Middlemass, Rob Cross, Charlie King, Joel Bowden and Raf Clark with you on Grandstand AFL for another 20 minutes or so. Meanwhile, the other game tonight, the Western Bulldogs, too good for the West Coast Eagles, a 101-point win. We'll tell you more about that in just a moment. But inside the Suns' rooms, I'm sure this will be a pretty happy rendition of the song, The Suns Home by 67 points.